Welcome, race fans, to PitStop TV. Joe Donahue joins me on the mic this evening. Corey Rexford is on our social media coverage as what seems like per usual. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing series. Thank you for tuning in across our multiple platforms, be it Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. We join you tonight from the virtual 1500 Terra Place, Hampton, Georgia, for the 9th round of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We're just peachy under the Georgia sun this afternoon, Joe, as the stars of Bluegrass get up to speed for the 9th round of 16 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Qualifying underway. You see the times now coming in for some of our new pole sitters. Right now, it would be none other than Ryan Kendall. We'll get a look at some of the times coming in here on the left side of the screen. Joe, how about that for a shakeup towards the top?
About it the last couple weeks, we've had some glimpses of guys who normally aren't in the top 5, top 10, shining out, absolutely putting in the work, putting in the practice they need to come out on this track and compete with the rest of the guys. We talk about it all the time here in the Bluegrass iRacing Series. It's just a stacked lineup, and being up front is tough to do. It's hard to beat so many great drivers week in and week out, but we've gotten glimpses from specific drivers over the last couple weeks. We had like Bryce Hunter at Road America. We've had Jack Bauer last week at North Wilkesboro, and now we're seeing it here in practice and qualifying coming up. We could be seeing a couple new names that we haven't really talked about as much at the front of the field, making glimpses of success out of this race here tonight at Atlanta.
Absolutely. We've had names go up, down, every which way in between, trying to work their way into the playoffs. Let's take a look at how that shakes out currently, actually. We come in with Brandon Robertson, the new points leader, the new #1 seed with 2 wins. You see second place, Alan Dobbs. He is serving a 1-race suspension this evening after actions at North Wilkesboro, where he got into it with Scott Fritz. Matt Grenier, he comes in 3rd place, tied up with Casey Barlow, Justin Winters. They all have 1 win apiece, but they could absolutely go up there and tie themselves up for positions 1 and 2. And then you see guys like John Kinder. We're just going to skip over the fact that he's got 2 eyes in his name there. Adam Lancaster, Wyatt Brackett, they're all nearing themselves towards locking in to the playoffs. John Kinder specifically leading the way at 409 points. That's the most of any driver in the series. You see that at the bottom. That little asterisk there, the little star next to 409, does denote that he is the overall points standing leader. You see the rest of the standings there, Joe, and a couple of things stick out to me. Mostly Nick Mills and Jack Bauer up into 11th and 12th respectively. And then a little further down, Nicholas Noggle still tied up at the cut line, but now with Nathan Maurer instead of Nathan Mills.
Yeah, I do think that Nick Mills has been shining through as just a slightly consistent driver, just getting enough points to stay within the cutoff for the playoffs. Jack Bauer has had ups and downs this season, obviously, and we had talked about this a lot last week. Jack Bauer had an awesome performance put together at North Wilkesboro, and he's just generally been getting better. But like you said, also a name that we wouldn't expect to be so far down the list, Nicholas Noggle, has been having an absolutely tough season. We've said this all season long. He has not been having the series season that we expected out of Nick based off of last season's performance. But I do think with a couple races left, a couple weeks to put something together, and for how close it's been both in the races and in the championship, I think it's hard to write him out of the equation just yet.
I don't think you can write any of the top 20 out just yet, even down at David Brackett. I think David can absolutely work his way in. He's less than 20 points out currently. It's very, very close from, I'd say, 5th on back, even through like 22nd, 23rd that are not pictured here. Everything's very, very tight, and anything can still change. So especially right around that cut line, anything can still happen. You notice Bryce Hunter down to 18th position. He was in 10th going into North Wilkesboro, missed the race last week, and that's the result. He is 15 points out. And that's just a tie-up with Nathan Maurer and Nicholas Noggle. So, I mean, that's a massive deficit right there. And I think that really emphasizes why you've got to show up to all these races. Obviously, real life gets in the way. And you know, it's not like you did anything wrong with missing the race. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes. It is, after all, on a computer. But that is what happens sometimes when you can't make one of those races, and that's why guys like John Kinder, Adam Lancaster, Wyatt Brackett, who are here every week and are grinding away, finding speed, that's why they're the closest to getting locked in on points.
Absolutely, and I do agree with you. I mean, this is, at the end of the day, a simulator, a video game. We have real lives to attend to, college classes, jobs, families, whatnot. And it was nice last season to have those two races where you'd have they drop the lowest two performances, or you could skip 2 weeks if you had to. That was something that a lot of guys appreciated. But for a championship and to be able to come out every week and be not only here, but to be competitive, that's what should get you a chance at the championship. And obviously missing a race doesn't necessarily mean you're out of the championship. We've got guys right up at the tail and into the playoffs that have missed events already this season, or even including guys who've had absolutely terrible races, have finished way in the back and they're still up in the playoffs right now. It's not necessarily the end of your season to miss one race. So for those guys to do that, I mean, there's still a chance for Bryce Hunter to get in.
Oh, undoubtedly. There's a chance for him to work in by points, but there's also the possibility of him winning a race and making his way into the playoffs by default. In fact, I was talking with Nick Mills earlier today, and he does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work along with Jason Collins here. Basically, 28th and up can still work their way in. So John Kinder, obviously, he can win and get in, and he's very close to getting in just by leading the points. But anyone else from 28th and above can still make it in, and that includes a lot of names that are not pictured. Think about your Scott Fritz. Think about Mitch Smith, Chris LeBourgeois, those kinds of guys that They've not had seasons to make the top 20 necessarily, but they've been there knocking on the door, and they still have a chance that if they win one of these remaining races to the playoff cutoff, which I believe we now have 4 races to go, they can still make their way in, and actually would take a 6th or 7th place seed right now the way it sits.
Yeah, and even some of those names you mentioned, I know Chris LeBourgeois has had moments of brilliance in the past few weeks, so we definitely talked about him as a contender to move up in the rankings and maybe fight for positions further. But I mean, yeah, 4 races left. There's not that many points separating 16th from even 20th here on your screen. I mean, I know it looks like a lot to go from 127 points back to 135, but that's around 28 points right there, doing the quick math. Apologies if it's not perfect. I mean, 28 points, if you win a stage and finish 5 positions better than somebody, you are cutting that almost to nothing. I mean, with 4 races left, you can put together enough points to get into that bracket, and that's what's really great about the way these points have been given out this season, and especially the addition of the stage from last season, that now halfway through the race you can give out up to 10 points for somebody just being consistent at the beginning of the event. I think that's really helped those guys, and it's kept the playoff fight a lot more lively and a lot more exciting.
Yeah, I mean, everything can still be written in tons of different ways. I mean, let's just look at the fact that 16th and 17th right now are tied, Joe. The fact that the cutoff line literally cannot be separated right now, and we have to take it down to some kind of tiebreaker to figure out the last position to get in. Everything can still change, and I think absolutely will change between now and our cutoff line. And let's walk you through some of those races to the end here. The remaining races that we have going to the cutoff for the playoffs. I'm just going to find my schedule over yonder. So we're coming into race number 9, Atlanta, 167 laps. Then the next 2 weeks, going to throw these drivers for a couple of curveballs, I'd say. We go into New Hampshire next week. That is going to be a very interesting race, I think, for these drivers. A very different kind of racetrack, definitely a driver's racetrack. They're going to be fighting loose conditions all race, much like tonight here at Atlanta, but in a completely different way. It's a very flat racetrack. It definitely lends itself to a lot of strategy. But with the 75-lap segments that we're going to have, basically, with our halfway break, it's going to break things down to where drivers have got to be on it all 75 laps, but they also have to manage their stuff. They can't wear the tires off too quickly. They've got to make sure they are there at the end of those 75-lap segments. Then you fast forward 1 week to Watkins Glen, and we're getting towards the middle of February here. Watkins Glen is, again, much like Road America was. It's going to be kind of a curveball for some of these drivers and an opportunity, really, for guys that excelled a couple of weeks ago, like Alan Dobbs, Matt Grenier, and others, to get up there and really have something moving forward. Then finally, the cutoff race is Darlington. That is just a long, grueling race, Joe. John Kinder won it last season. And honestly, it's one of those that's going to separate the cream from the rest, and the cream's just going to be the ones who win. But I think in that race particularly, a lot of curved balls can still be thrown. We can certainly see, I think, anybody grab the win, even though it's going to kind of naturally set drivers towards the top.
That it's the cutoff, but that the drivers are going to be aware that it's the cutoff. I think that race is going to be very exciting. But even the other races you mentioned, obviously tonight's Atlanta. Atlanta is kind of a driver's track. I'm excited to see the type of racing we're going to get here. But then you go to New Hampshire. It is a mile long, but it races a lot more like a short track than, say, Dover is as a mile long track as well. So some of these drivers in the field, and when I say this, I look specifically at the guy sitting in 17th on your screen, Nick Noggle. There are guys in this field who can run short tracks and be competitive and fighting for wins. So that's a place that you might see Nick Noggle start making noise. And then you even go after that to Watkins Glen. And just like we had at Road America with Bryce Hunter, with his performance coming through the field and being up in the top 5 for a while, being in the top 10 at the end of the day, you could have somebody come through who's just put in a lot of practice, put down good laps all week long, getting ready for the event. They show up and they've got speed and they're competing up at the top of this field, someone that you normally or maybe expectingly didn't think would be there. And all of a sudden you've got a completely new name in blue at the top of the standings going into the last race. So I think the way that this schedule is set up for these last 4 races, including tonight's race, we've got a lot of great opportunities for drivers who excel in different types of racing and different fields to be competitive at the front of the field for at least one more chance to secure a safe ticket into the playoffs and get a victory.
Now, I want to point out, we still have standings on screen. We're kind of stalling right here as we've been notified that there's been some kind of issue with the session. Of course, working with technology, a lot of things happen, and sometimes it is human error even, working with technology. So we're kind of talking about some points here at length, which is actually a great opportunity for us to catch up about a lot of these different storylines coming into a race like Atlanta, where a whole lot can happen. It's a slippy and slidey racetrack. It's very abrasive. Everybody knows that. Granted, this particular scan of Atlanta, as you can see, we've got the Turn 3 stands over here on screen currently. It's a much older scan of Atlanta, Joe, and that means that it's not quite as harsh on tires as today's Atlanta Motor Speedway, but it certainly lends itself to a lot of tire wear issues. I think it just ends up being a bit more multi-groove.
I would agree with you 100% on that, Andrew, and I think that's what brings draw to Atlanta. Even on the real Atlanta Motor Speedway, in the real world, we see races, and sometimes people kind of talk down on Atlanta because it hasn't been paved in so long, but I've at least always appreciated that it becomes much more of a strategic race where you have to be smart, you have to preserve your tires, you have to be able to get speed and find speed in ways that other drivers maybe wouldn't, and I think that pays off really nicely when you actually go to Atlanta Motor Speedway. But to bring it to iRacing, I don't think it's that much different. Now, granted, you did mention, and I do agree, that with a slightly older scan, it's not quite as abrasive and it's not quite as much the same scenario, but it is still an abrasive track. It is still the type of facility that's going to have tire wear is going to be important. And 2 lanes of racing could very easily and likely will happen. And I think this is the type of facility that somebody who is very smart about how they're driving their car is going to come to the top. And maybe that's not even just somebody who's fast, but just somebody who can keep a hold of their car, not get in any trouble, not run their tires out too quickly. If you can be intelligent and be patient with your car tonight, I think that's a really great way to get yourself up at least into the top 5 and get some solid points out of this race, because I'm expecting there will inevitably be people in this field who put together a good race, but they're going too strong and tire wear just kind of nicks them on their first run, and they have that realization, oh, I need to be a little patient with these tires, I need to be a little patient with this race and everything that's going on the track right now. And then there will be the guys who think through it very well and coming into the event know I need to make sure that I'm not using these tires up too much, because a track like Atlanta is going to bite you in the tail really quickly if you aren't really careful with that kind of thing.
I think Atlanta just wants to get out there and bite everybody in the tail anyways. It's just the way Atlanta Motor Speedway seems to be. It absolutely reaches out there, and I think this would be a good candidate for the new Beast of the Southeast. I think Charlotte Motor Speedway, albeit very, very tough, is kind of lending way to Atlanta being the tougher of the two. And I mean, it's just a track that reaches out there, and it's getting a bit like Darlington even, where you get up there and it's very easy to run yourself in the wall, and you got to be very, very careful to not add an Atlanta stripe maybe. So I think Atlanta definitely in real life and on iRacing, always evolving, because the iRacing package has been evolving in recent years to match that of the NASCAR Cup Series. The tire model has been changing a lot, so there's a lot that's been changing on the iRacing side as well, and just a whole lot of things going into Atlanta being one of those kinds of racetracks that every driver has to be on high alert for. Meanwhile, we're going to take a step away. We're going to feed it back to our commercials here for just a moment while we try and sort some things out on the technical side and get back into our race session. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back with race coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing series here on PitStop TV.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to PitStop TV. We join you now in a new race session for these drivers of the Bluegrass iRacing series. We're going to carry over the qualifying results. We'll go over the grid on that pace lap as per usual, but we thank you for joining us now as we get ready to go back in and get back into that kind of race-ready mode. We'll quickly recap the point standings coming in case you're just joining us. Brandon Robertson on top, Alan Dobbs right there with him, but Alan Dobbs serving a one-race suspension this week after antics at North Wilkesboro 1 week ago with Scott Fritz involved and some others. But yeah, you see the rest of the standings there. Don't mind the two eyes there in John Kinder's name, but John Kinder does currently lead the point standings of anybody in the series, despite the top 5 all having at least one win. So John Kinder would go in as, I believe, actually the 3rd seed right now, above the drivers with 1 win, but not above the drivers with 2. So he would actually walk in as a pretty decently seeded championship contender. John Kinder's got something going for him in that number 21 car. Then, Joe, you see the guys that are down right by the cut line. Nathan Maurer, Nicholas Noggle, of course, they stand out to me. The good news for Nicholas Noggle is we've received word that Nathan Maurer is sitting this week out due to concerns with COVID. Now, that's not necessarily a concern for other drivers, but we wish him the best, and we hope that he's feeling well. Obviously, it's a virtual race, so, again, he's not going to transfer to anybody, but we do hope that he is feeling well. It's unfortunately part of everyday life at this point that we're having to work through it and navigate things, and unfortunately sometimes people are exposed, and it sounds like he was, and it sounds like he's going through that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we come on this program, we come online virtually, and we do escape some of the real world stressors and consequences of being around other people, but nonetheless we all have lives to live. Obviously, we go out, we have to do what we got to do. And it's really unfortunate that Nathan's not going to be here representing the Sim Box number 97 for us, but we hope for him to get a fast and speedy recovery, get back out on track again, and maybe come back and compete for more races. But that does help Nicholas Noggle, and that's not the way you want it, but it happened. It's unfortunate, but Nick Noggle is looking pretty good for getting himself into the playoffs with that tonight.
Yeah, it's certainly going to help the driver of the 08. But on a different note, since we've had all this time on air, we haven't mentioned our partners here at PitStop TV yet, so we want to do so now. I want to educate you guys watching on what our partners do, because they are great people. They're great organizations, and you notice there's a new logo on there. We'll get to them in a minute, but first off, of course, as usual, we want to lead off with Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and they will custom create a beautiful framed, high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit Tucson Sound Art today to get, well, if you want additional information, to make your order. And if you do make your order of a new Tucson Sound Art product, make sure to use promo code PitStop TV for 10% off of your order today. That code is good for anyone, and believe me, it's a big saver, not just because, well, you're saving money, but it helps you get one of these amazing products. Got one on my wall. I always mention this when I can. It is one of the coolest things that I own, Joe. It is genuinely a fantastic piece of wall art and a Bluetooth speaker, so it's very convenient. We also want to mention Race Pace. Ever wish you could have a race engineer on speed dial? Well, now you can. Thanks to RacePace, a driver development service and setup shop all in one. Work with Tyler Campbell, a real-world race engineer, to step up your game before your next race. Pick up pace with RacePace, and I myself can vouch to the pace that we picked up this past weekend in the Daytona 24 in the kind of PitStop TV Whiplash Media car, the Whiplash Racing Lamborghini Huracan. Oh my god, we all picked up tenths, if not seconds, once we got onto a RacePace setup this past weekend, and it definitely helped our effort over the course of the 24 hours. We also, of course, want to thank Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Bollier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. Make sure to contact them at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, be that on Facebook, their website, permanentmakeupinmaine.com, or even call or text them, 207-358-8683. They even have an Instagram account so you can get connected with them anywhere. And finally, Joe, of course, always want to thank Whiplash Media for the design work, the camera work, everything else that goes into all of our broadcasts on a weekly, even daily sometimes, basis. Moving right along, you see some new practice speeds on the left side of the screen, but Joe, here in just a few moments, we're going right into our starting lineup.
Yeah, so like Andrew said when we brought us back from that quick commercial break, they're going to pull over the qualifying order from the last session, which we unfortunately had some technical errors with. Nonetheless, these guys want to get a race in, and they're going to bring it to you shortly. So just a little practice for the guys into the new session, but qualifying has been set and ready to go. We'll be able to bring that to you.
So let's go down our starting order. Up front, it's going to be Matt Grenier with John Kinder to his outside. Starting off third, it's going to be Casey Barlow with Adam Lancaster starting fourth. Then it's Travis Miller. And how about this? 6th place starting spot for Ed Osborne in the number 42. I think that's got to be his best starting spot ever in the Bluegrass iRacing series. That's big for the driver of the 42 car. Starting 7th place is Joshua Abbey. Also a very good start for him, alongside a Wyatt Brackett, who's moved himself, I think, into 8th place in the standings as well. So big stuff on the way for the driver out of Maine. To bring up the final row of the top 10, it's going to be Brandon Robertson and Ryan Kendall.
We roll it back to row number 6 from there. On the inside, you got that 14 machine. Tyler Reed will be rolling off to the inside of the number 6 and Tyler Johnson. Going back to row number 7, you see on the inside is the number 46 of Nick Mills. We talked about him sneaking his way up slowly through the playoff order. His outside is going to be number 7 of Ronnie Shirk. You throw it back to 15th spot. That's the number 9 of Bryce Hunter. Starting on his outside in 16th will be Wes Wigand. Rolling off 17th is going to be the 71 machine of Michael Brisson, and his outside is going to be the number 52 Chevrolet of Justin Winters. And finally, in row number 10 on the grid, the Pennsylvanian Daniel Worthington in the number 113, and his outside is going to be the Texan Chris LaBourgeois.
Starting 21st tonight, it's Mitch Smith in the number 8. Then the 38 to his outside, starting 22nd, it's David Brackett. Rolling off 23rd, it's Dakota Shepard of Dirt Track Junkies with Brian Terry to his outside in 24th. 25th spot coming to you, Ryan Smith in the number 91, and Nicholas Noggle starting 26th spot. Just cannot catch a break even in qualifying. Then it's Jack Bauer back there as well. Oh my, he's been on a tear recently, but on a slide in qualifying tonight. CJ Mason starts to his outside in 28th. A couple more positions here. Gary Dozorski 29th, Scott Fritz 30th. Do we have any more? No, even 30 cars this evening at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Joe, it's been a bit of a delayed start, much like the Daytona 24 this past weekend, but we are finally ready to get going racing here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Out of turn number 4 for the final time before letting these engines rip. The 15 and 21, the front row, Matt Grenier and John Kinder. The green flag is going to fly, and we're off and away at Atlanta.
They come out of turn 4, complete the first lap here. Matt Grenier running very strongly at the top end of the chart. John Kinder and Adam Lancaster in just behind him. The 21 and 28 sliding in. Single file the majority of the way back. You see some fighting more towards the middle. That's Brandon Robertson down on the inside. A couple other guys fighting with him. Ed Osborne, you're seeing on your screen, making a great run out of his awesome start tonight. He's trying to fight on the inside of the 22, Travis Miller.
Yeah, Ed Osborne had a heck of a save out of turn 2 that time by. He now sneaks in behind the number 22 of Travis Miller, so it looks like Ed's actually going to hang on to his position despite that big slide now in front of Joshua Abbey. He's up a ton of spots, it seems, and this is the battle up front, though. John Kinder all over the back end of Matt Grenier. You see, you mentioned a lap ago, Brandon Robertson on the bottom side. He's still fighting there, but here comes John Kinder to the bottom as well, painting that white line, trying to get down there to where Kevin Harvick likes to run, it seems, but he can't quite get there. That said, still going to take over the number 1 position as a trio of Ford Mustangs fight out front here in Georgia.
You've got teammates down on the inside now. Adam Lancaster might be looking down to the inside of his buddy, John Kinder, who slides down, gave him a little bit of a close on that line. John Kinder leading the way over Adam Lancaster now. They both have gotten around the number 15 machine in a lap, and Matt Grenier dropped back to 3rd place. Casey Barlow holding on to the tail of the 15 car as well. You're riding on board with this machine down the front stretch. He's trying to get a little bit of a draft here off of Grenier. I'm wondering if they're going to start working together a little bit or not. John Kinder and Adam Lancaster up in front, though, they've switched positions.
Yeah, I think they definitely are trying to work together, Adam Lancaster and John Kinder. And John's almost locked in. Really, both these guys are almost locked into the playoffs. I think they just want to better their own chances here. Meanwhile, Grenier brings the fight right back to Kinder and is going to go on by for the 2nd position, so mixing things up early. Further back, this is where things get very interesting. Side by side currently are Kendall on the bottom side and Osborne up top. Osborne sliding a little bit, but still holding himself quite nice and steady inside the top 10. And there you see that 68. Now a Ford Mustang instead of a Chevy Camaro. As wow, Joshua Abbey, a burst of speed goes on by Travis Miller that time in 1 and 2.
Joshua Abbey has a lot of speed right now. This is actually pretty surprising to see that 5 car going so strongly at the beginning of this race. I'm wondering if that's going to bite him in the tail by the end of it, if he's using that car up more than the rest of the guys out there, or if he's just got it hooked up for him tonight. Maybe put in a lot of practice. You see Ryan Kendall trying to put some pressure on him from the inside line. That 68 car is going to put his car in front, move Kendall into the top 5. We're looking back at Matt Grenier now, race leader over Adam Lancaster, has reclaimed that spot. Still plenty of challenge from the 28 in behind him as they go through 3 and 4 again, coming around to complete lap 8. I think this one's going to go to Matt Grenier.
Yeah, that pass was made about the same time as we watched Ryan Kendall go on by Joshua Abbey. We'll check back into that battle now as Kendall starts to pull away. Then it's Abbey, then it's Robertson, and Ed Osborne still hanging on pretty nicely in the 42 car. You mentioned Abbey having speed. It's nice to see Osborne have this speed as well. Hopefully it holds steady for the rest of the race. Somebody I'm noticing falling back is actually a couple of Tylers have gone on by in the recent lap or so is Travis Miller falling back, and he's our Daytona winner 2 seasons in a row now, but stepped away for a number of races. Comes back, makes his return this week, and is currently now running 12th. Justin Winters goes on by. Here comes Michael Brisson, and he had a rough go of it at North Wilkesboro, but looking to turn things around as he goes for the 12th spot on Travis Miller.
Yeah, Brisson definitely had an interesting and a tough race at North Wilkesboro. Might have given him some motivation to put extra work in, make sure he's got the car under him for Atlanta, that he can go out there and try to fight to get up maybe inside the top 10, maybe even top 5. You mentioned Travis Miller as well. Travis been away a little while. We're glad to have him back. And Travis is one of the guys, just like the person in 3rd place right now, John Kinder, that I look at as one of the smart, patient, persistent drivers in the field. I think he showed it that he knows how to get through a long race and knows how to fight his way back up. So maybe this is a strategy move for Miller right now, that he's just kind of trying to ride it out for a little extra.
Watching the cars fly on by there for just a moment. Michael Brisson falling back a bit. Wyatt Brackett going to go by on the bottom side and bring Bryce Hunter with him. This is back here for about 14th, 15th now, and Nick Mills is in the conversation as well. And Nick Mills, he's had a great few weeks recently. He's got himself up into 11th place in the points coming into tonight's event. this 46 could be a contender to be an underdog in the playoffs. Now, of course, we'll have a couple of eliminations, I do believe. That's going to weed out a few drivers, but I think the 46 could make a couple of cuts and work himself kind of deep into the conversation. I would look out for Nick Mills in the coming weeks to continue to improve.
Yeah, Nick Mills has been one of those guys that's been around since the beginning of this series. He raced in season 1. He had ups and downs. A tough season to start it out. He had a lot of weeks where things didn't quite go his way, and he's slowly been working on that car and slowly been working on his driving to keep him competitive with the rest of the guys up at the front. I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. They bring out so many great competitive drivers in this series. Being able to break into the top 10 is an accomplishment on its own, and for Nick Mills to be putting it together here in the middle to late stages of this.
Oh no! No!
Caution is out. Caution is out.
And as I say that, it strikes him here at Atlanta. Nick Mills around on the front straightaway.
I've never seen the commentator's curse come into effect quite like that. I mean,
I
that
feel
is
so
next
bad.
level kind of stuff where we're talking about a guy who's had a great season forming and, I mean, literally gets taken out down the front stretch. Let's take a look back at it. I can't. I've never seen it happen quite like that. That is insane. The way the universe just decided to pay him back for something right there. This is Nick Mills, as we mentioned, of course, in the blue 46, and it looks like Brisson either gets loose or gets tight or both, and ends up pushing up the racetrack then down. We'll get a better view of it here in a moment, Joe, but it's really going to come back to bite Nick Mills right here.
Yeah, I feel really bad about that. Speaking on his behalf of how well he's been putting it together, and this is just not anything he could do. I think Brisson was up high, like you said, might have got a little tight there and slowed up to make sure he didn't run into the wall, and wanted to get off of the top side a little bit, came down just a tad, and Nick Mills was there, and it was just an unfortunate situation for that 46 car, getting pulled in and turned to the wall head on and sliding down the front stretch and whatnot. So hopefully there will be enough time for Nick to get that car fixed up a little bit. We're on board with Scott Fritz here to see from his perspective what happened. A little far back from that incident, but okay, so he was pretty far back from the initial incident, but Brisson stopped on the racetrack from the whole ordeal, just kind of pile drived him there.
Yeah, that's a massive impact for Scott Fritz. And unfortunately going to total his car along with furthering totaling Brisson's, it looks like. The race out of the pit lane, though, going to go to none other than David Brackett. He's got a pit stop. I'm a little bit confused here. He must have taken a run just straight through. He's got 1.1 seconds in the pit lane. I'm not really sure about that, but I guess Adam Lancaster then will be the first one out of the pit lane this time by, and should take over second. I'd imagine there's something else up with the 38 car, and Matt Grenier never pitted under this caution flag. We'll see if he opts to do so this time by.
Yeah, we'll see if Grenier comes down. I don't know if I'd expect him to at that point, but it is possible that Grenier slides on down to the inside and comes down pit lane. You know, you got so much time in this race, and you've got a couple laps in. I mean, we're 15 laps into this race already. It's not unheard of to get new tires, but if I had been sitting in the seat, I might have just gone for fuel, or maybe my right sides, just because of how much the track eats up tires here. It is an interesting call if you want to get more than that, but obviously Matt Grenier thought it was best to stay up at the front of the field and come through without going to the pit lane, which I think he's going to relinquish the chance this caution period. Adam Lancaster to his outside. Going to be interesting to see the speed difference between these two cars, having one not pitted and one coming through.
So we're coming to the restart. This will be about a tenth of the way into the race, actually, when they come through turn 3 or so. Lap 16 coming to 17. And the 15, I think the last time out at a 1.5 mile speedway, an intermediate track, if you will, Matt Grenier was the winner at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So, I mean, he's already up front. Granted, he stayed out to save a set of tires here very, very early, but already trying to make himself one of the favorites, and I don't think I can argue that logic either. I think Matt Grenier definitely one of the favorites anytime we unload, but especially now on a 1.5. Again, coming to a 10th of the way into the race, lap 16 coming to 17, it's Grenier, Lancaster, Kinder, Barlow, and Kendall the top 5, and oh, Grenier spinning the tires, come to the green flag that time.
Yeah, Grenier he actually got a really good start off the inside there, but he did look like it spun a little bit. Lancaster just didn't get a good enough restart on him. John Kinder did, though. He holds on into second place on the inside of the 28 machine.
Down the back stretch, you see the field flying by on the entry to turn 3. It looks like Bourgeois might have tagged the fence right there out of turn 2. Immediately, a challenge for the race lead. Here comes Kinder to the bottom side. And I think at the line, we might have a new race leader. Not quite. How about the fight from Matt Grenier to hang on to it there? But I'd say this time by the new tire is going to prevail, and they absolutely do that time in 1 and 2. Here come a bunch more Fords. In fact, 3 of them trying to pass and usurp the number 15, but they're bringing with them the Chevrolet of Tyler Johnson, the number 6, making one of his few starts so far this season and is looking pretty good doing so.
Yeah, Tyler Johnson has come in and out of this series. He shows up occasionally. He did the same thing last season where he had a couple of races that he raced and a few that he didn't, but when he shows up, he's competitive. Tyler Johnson won races last season, for Pete's sake. That's 6 cars. Oh, that's Brandon Robertson. That was... Oh, there goes... Yep, that... Oh, that actually wasn't. I wrote that one off a little too quickly. My apologies for that. That was a slide and a half. I don't know how that car got saved down there, but... Geez. Yeah, that one caught me off guard. I thought we were going to have a yellow there.
That was amazing driving all around, and look at this. Brandon Robertson, who was almost just turned a half a lap ago, is now fighting for almost the top 5 as Barlow gets the back end of Lancaster. Lancaster had a problem the last lap. He's falling even further back now. I'm not sure what's happened to this Ghostface Brewing Rims 1 Ford Mustang, but he's going in the wrong direction. Barlow fighting to the bottom, and it looks like he should get that spot. Maybe not so fast, but Robertson's right back in this conversation. You saw a lot of cars get jacked up, a lot of great driving. Meanwhile, another look at this moment. Jeff Gordon, I'm cueing my inner you, I guess, as Justin Winters. He did not start great tonight. Started 18th position, but already up into the top 10, and oh my, what are they doing up top? I don't know, but I think Winters wants to get by it.
Robertson looked like he had a lot of momentum up there, and he wanted to try to find a way around Adam Lancaster, but took the wrong line, and Lancaster might have moved a little bit. Justin Winters has a really good position right now on this group of 3, holding it off a little bit just so that he's right outside of the cusp of getting caught up in something if it were to go awry. I think it's kind of settled down enough that Justin sees a chance to start being aggressive on the tail of this number 28 machine. They're down on the bottom line, and Winters looks like he's going to try to get a nice run off the inside of turn number 2 and slide his car down to the bottom of turn number 3, pull some momentum, and get around that number 28 machine.
So Winters now up to P7, and I want to agree real quick with Brianne Lewis out in the Facebook chat. That was an amazing save out of the 22 of Travis Miller, as well as everybody else that was in all of that gaggle a few laps ago. Now Miller sits in 9th place, Wyatt Brackett in 10th, and Tyler Reed in 11th position. Ed Osborne not so far back, and then there's a lot of cars behind him, but oh my, Ed was all kinds of squiggly wiggly, to quote you a week ago.
Yes, one of my great quotes from last week at North Wilkesboro. Ed Osborne came into this race with a lot of momentum and a great starting position. You can see he's kind of fading a little bit right at this moment in time, just kind of trying to hold on to that car, see how it works in traffic. That's something that these cars, it makes a very big difference between qualifying a car and racing a car, is having the other competitors around you kind of disturbing the air and changing the way that your car is going to drive through it. So right now, Ed Osborne might be having a little bit of trouble just kind of, the car in front of him got up into the barrier there. I think we're all clean, though. But yeah, like I was saying, I think Ed Osborne's just kind of trying to work that car in right now, deal with the traffic and the drafting that's going on, and figure out how you get that 42 car back up to where he started it.
There's another car slow up top right here. Oh, that's the one of Scott Fritz, as I don't know where the 8 of Mitch Smith was going on the entry to 1 there, but he gets it sorted out. You see the very wounded number 1, top of the racetrack, just trying to let everybody go by, but it gets very narrow down the back stretch for some of these guys. And meanwhile, how about the fight up front? It's not it's not gapped itself at all. Brandon Robertson is leading, and he's maybe pulled a few tenths on John Kinder, but it's still not very far back. And actually, hold on, we totally missed a 2-car driving to the race lead. How he was almost wrecking a few laps ago, now actually just completely passes John Kinder, and I don't know how we overlooked that one, but Kinder falls into second place, and actually, I mentioned it wasn't going very far. It really is. John Kinder's really falling back from this 2-car, or the 2 is really pulling away, and I think it's the latter of those 2. Meanwhile, the battle for 3rd and 4th, very, very tight. Ryan Kendall not all that far back.
Look at Ryan Kendall starting to make some noise in that 68 car. We had seen that small 3-car breakaway of all of those 4s at the beginning. Grenier, Kinder, and Lancaster, but now Ryan Kendall has caught up at least to Matt Grenier and already made his way past Adam Lancaster, who's actually dropped back a little bit in the order right now. Ryan Kendall is one of those names we talked about at the beginning of this race, has had some pretty solid performances, hasn't quite had the shine-out moment that we've seen out of some other drivers in the last few weeks. This might be the place and the time that Ryan Kendall adds his name to the list of drivers who we get to talk to for the first time maybe, or at least get to see in the top 5 at the end of the race. Right now he's holding a lot of speed, and he's doing a great job of holding on to Matt Grenier and John Kinder in front of him. But like you said, Andrew, I don't know where Brandon Robertson got all of the speed to go blistering up into a 2-second lead of this race right now, but it came from somewhere evidently, and that number 2 is taking it to the front right now.
There's the gap. It's already over 2 seconds. I don't know where the guy gets the speed from all of a sudden, but it's like he's sitting back there around 10th or 12th, and something big happens, and suddenly he's like, all right, time to get out of Dodge, and finally turns the afterburners on and decides to get out of Dodge, and he absolutely does so. I mean, he has just lit this track on fire. Not that it needed much help here in Hot Atlanta, but he's out to 2.5 seconds now over John Kinder and climbing. We're just watching the gap widen up here, and it's only lap 29. Imagine the next, 140 laps to go?
Yeah, I'm wondering about that as they run through, but I was reminded here in the YouTube chat, thank you to Huffy Huffman for this, I wasn't 100% sure, but it has been confirmed. Brandon Robertson is one of those guys that took 4 tires on the pit stop, so that would be why he's getting so much speed right now compared to the rest of them, is he's got just a little bit better grip on those inside left tires, and that's what's getting him so much more speed at the current moment. But by the same token, if that's what's getting you the speed, I'm waiting and wondering what's going to happen when the tires wear in a little bit more and you don't have that advantage. We'll see if Brandon Robertson can retain what he has right now, or if he used those tires up kind of quickly to get to the front. That's an interesting strategic move by the 2-car, but over the long run of the race, it's possible it might be something that kind of comes around and evens itself out in the end.
We're going to talk about kind of a battle there for 4th, but how about this pack of race cars? These guys are fighting from about, it looks like, 12th on back. Yeah, Adam Lancaster kind of kicks all of it off. You see Ed Osborne, Tyler Reed, Joshua Abbey, and all of these guys locked up 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, almost 3 wide a little bit. And oh my, we got teammates fighting actually here. Abbey with Wiggin on the bottom side. Noggle and Hunter, Worthington, they're going at it. And Lancaster continuing a slide up here. He's going to fall victim to Ed Osborne.
Ed Osborne's making some moves. I think Joshua Abbey's doing a stellar job up top right now. This is a great race going on at this point in the field. It got Lancaster leading the top side. Osborne down low. They're going to probably go
Grenier
single
pits.
file. Oh, Grenier. So we got Matt Grenier in the pits, number 15 car. He didn't pit in that yellow flag period that everybody else came through. So he's going to relinquish his position on track to come get some service. But you're still watching this great battle on your screen. Ed Osborne did finally break away from it, though. But in the midst of the middle of it, they're still all going pretty hard and fighting each other side by side for the positions down the backstretch.
So it seems like Adam Lancaster is the unofficial start of all of the excitement here, and everybody going by him is starting to separate themselves out as 3 wide out of turn 4. Lancaster up top, Abbey in the middle, Wiggin, his teammate on the bottom side. They get it sorted out now 2 by 2, and Noggle's just trying to find somewhere to go, almost loses it on the entry to turn 1. Now he's trying to fight on the top side of Wiggin, and is he going to thread the needle? He thought about it, then smartly lifted, And how about that smart racing out of Nicholas Noggle? He's back in racing for 16th. It's not like they're up towards the front just yet. He's got to lift, and wait a second, he does exactly that, and now he'll take his turn and try and work on by Lancaster.
When they came out of turn 2 that time, I saw Wiggand, Lancaster, and I felt from the onboard Nick Noggle all get a smidgen loose out of turn number 2 that time. So I think that the tires are starting to wear in a little bit for these guys, and that might make the racing very interesting for position that we see right now. Noggle has gapped Lancaster a little bit. You see Daniel Worthington in the number 113 car working the bottom side down the back straightaway, trying to move himself up one more spot. Nicholas Noggle has cleared him. I think Worthington is going to make that spot as well. Bryce Hunter in the 9 is going to be the next one to challenge the Rims 1 Ghostface Brewing number 28 machine down the front stretch. But it seems like the 28 might be falling off a little bit, or at least falling off a little bit quicker than the cars around him, that we've seen him kind of slowly tick back and back in the running order.
Well, it seems like a lot of this is actually mellowed out just a little bit. You see the gaggle is kind of thinned a little bit. Up to the front of the racetrack, well, in front of the field, is still Brandon Robertson, despite his Team New England teammate coming in and pitting after staying out on our, well, I was going to say most recent, but our only caution flag so far. Definitely a welcomed start, and I'm going to knock on wood. A welcome start to our race here tonight at Atlanta. It's race 9 of 16. Race 8 was a rough one at North Wilkesboro. It's one I think that's worth catching up on, but certainly a rough one for some of these drivers. There were a lot of incidents, but you know what? I think that's something that you expect with a short track. And when you get down to it, when you really boil that thing down, there was still a lot of great racing, and I don't want to let all of the happenings kind of detract from the quality racing that we did see, especially towards the front, and with Brandon Robertson, the eventual race winner. Meanwhile, Joe, how about this? Wyatt Brackett out of the great state of Maine up to P3, and he's looking like he's got P2 potential, and he may have taken 4 as opposed to 2 on the pit stop. I'm assuming that John Kinder took 2. That or he just took extra fuel. He may have a tire advantage, but still, he's playing his cards right now to possibly have a great result at the end of Stage 1.
Yeah, obviously, Stage 1 gives you points, and Wyatt Brackett wants points right now to secure a spot in the playoffs as we move forward this season. But that 33 machine is hooked up right now with a little bit fresher rubber. Wyatt Brackett was a standout at North Wilkesboro last time, and like Andrew suggested, after this race ends, I highly recommend going back and checking through it. I think it's really awesome if you go back and rewatch that race. You can skip through some of the slow parts when we had some yellows that you could skip in between the yellow flag laps and see how well Wyatt Brackett did last week. I'm not going to exactly spoil it, but I will tell you, if you're a Wyatt Brackett fan, you'll be pleasantly surprised by what happened, and you'll be very happy to see his results. So he's trying to hold on to that momentum. He's trying to continue that forward here at Atlanta. That 33 car did a great job last time. Right now, he's on the charge to Brandon Robertson up front, and I think he might be able to find a little bit more speed if Brandon Robertson's tires maybe are a little bit more used up than his, and maybe, just maybe, we could see Wyatt Brackett get some bonus points for leading laps in due time.
I'm not so sure he's going to make up the 5.3, now 5.4 seconds to get to Brandon Robertson. You see, down the backstretch there, not even in frame is the yellow number 2 car. Maybe this time? No, he's not even in frame there. So it's a massive gap up to P number 1, Brandon Robertson, who made that pass of the lead on lap number 24. But we do have some smaller gaps further back because Jack Bauer is all over Mitch Smith. We've seen the number 8 struggle a few times. I wonder if the 48 can capitalize on that. Now, it's been a quiet evening so far for Jack Bauer, but he has had a very loud few weeks. I think all the way back to Charlotte was the big one where he suddenly stood out as possibly a championship contender, a race winner favorite. He fell off a little bit at Road America, still had a good run, and then last week, again, in the spotlight, it didn't quite end the way he needed it to, but he's still working his way up through the standings, now into the top 12.
Yeah, Jack Bauer's been putting it together the last few weeks, and I know we've talked about it last season. He's kind of an aggressive driver in general, and that kind of bit him a couple times in the past, and he just had to get it together in Season 1, kind of learn how to race with these guys, learn how to race these tracks, and this half distance length that we normally see. We've got 167 laps tonight. Obviously, somebody who's aggressive is going to use up their tires pretty quickly, especially here at Atlanta. So that driving style, not necessarily what you need, not going to get you to the front at the end of the race. But right now, Jack Bauer is showing he at least has a grip on how his car is handling and what he needs to do to keep that thing in line and right now inside the top 10. Jack's been doing a really great job this season. It's awesome to see him up front competing for top fives, competing possibly for podiums, and even competing to possibly be the leader and the winner of races. We almost saw him win a race last week. I mean, it's not out of picture to see the 48 car in victory lane soon. So Brandon Robertson's going to relinquish the race lead to do the two-step and a cowboy boogie down to his pit stall right here. Wyatt Brackett is going to stay out on the racetrack. That 33 machine going to be picking up some bonus points for leading laps, and it's good to see for Wyatt. He needs those extra points if he wants to stay competitive in the championship and the playoff cutoff that we have in only 3 races from the completion of this one. Any point counts, especially in a field this tight and this competitive. So those bonus points for leading laps might be what he even had in mind from the start, but definitely something he's going to want. He took his lap lead, though, and he's going to come down and get fresh rubber.
So Wyatt Brackett now down the pit lane. We'll see if he holds on to first by the time he gets to the stripe. Or did he actually take it that time by? I guess he must have taken it that time by. But regardless, Wyatt Brackett going to come in. Yeah, he does have that 1 lap lead, and now comes by. That should make it 2, and it does. So the driver out of Maine, he actually had a great battle last week with his father, David Brackett. That was really cool to see, a father-son battle. It's not often you get to see that on iRacing. But going back to Jack Bauer, we had a bit of an audio issue. I guess I wasn't actually talking to the broadcast for a moment. I was just talking to Joe Donahue. A week ago, I say Jack Bauer didn't get the result he wanted. That's only because he didn't win that race, despite having a shot to do so off at a turn 3 on the final lap, and almost got to Brandon Robertson. Couldn't quite do it. Robertson took the win. And Bauer, I mean, that's as close as he's come so far, and you could almost argue should have had it. Maybe should have buried it off into the corner a little harder. Meanwhile, that is CJ Mason coming into the pit lane. Ronnie Shirk going to come with him, and this should cycle things out to put Matt Grenier back to P1, and it will. This time by the stripe. There he goes. The 15 back on top.
So you saw that the driver who didn't take the pit stop when we had our first yellow of this race led the way for a little while, and then Brandon Robertson made a absolute tear of the field and got up to first place himself. You see that 2 car just behind the 15 right now, though, so they've pretty much reset. They're within a couple laps of having the same set of tires and the same amount of wear on them, or at least they're closer than they were before. But you see how quickly Brandon Robertson's gaining on the 15 machine. I don't know how long Matt Grenier has before he's got a mirror full and possibly then going to be watching the tail of the 2 car go out in front of him. They come through turns 1 and 2 this time. Look at the speed difference. Absolutely nothing. Brandon Robertson down the inside, all the momentum in the world, gets back into the race lead in that 2.
I think it's certainly the wrong move for Grenier to have stayed out on the previous yellow flag, but how is he going to know when a caution flag is going to come out? Oh, he's up the racetrack, almost gets the wall out of 4. You can tell that was not planned by the attitude of the car up out of the corner, but Grenier is now on 18-lap-old tires, Joe, whereas Robertson's on 4-lap-old tires. That's a huge difference at Atlanta. I mean, it'd be a huge difference anywhere, and that is, I mean, that's incredible. Honestly, I think it's incredible that he hung on as well as he did and held on to the lead even just for the moment before Robertson got to him. That's a 14-lap difference, and I'm trying to do some math. He might have to pit before we wrap this stage up, considering we're racing to the completion there of lap 82. I mean, that's actually, I think it's lap 83. That'd be half of 167. So he's still got 30 laps to go, and he's already run 19. That's not going to work on a half tank of fuel.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that 15 car get to the finish of this stage. It would be a stretch. It would be a miracle, and it would be very impressive if Matt got there. But I just think with the way that car is showing itself to be handling right now, I mean, he's struggling to keep that thing in a good position through 3 and 4. He got all the way up to the last time through. That time through, you could tell he was taking it easy on that car and making sure that he had the grips and the control of it that he needed. I would be a stretch to see him get to the end of this one, but maybe if there is another caution, it would help Grenier. Well, obviously, it would help Grenier a ton if there was another caution that he could get that reset under yellow. But for the time being, I think he's just trying to hold on as best as he can and run as quickly as possible with how old his tires are to just try to tick forward and hope for some sort of karma or some sort of a break.
A little further back, I'm trying not to say meanwhile again, but a little further back, we've got a 4-car string, and this is going to involve Kinder, Johnson, Winters, and Wyatt Brackett at the tail end. The last of these drivers to pit, so he's technically got the best tires, but only by a couple laps for real this time. He is going to take it to the inside of Justin Winters and try and get that spot away. That would be good for 5th, and he gets that spot over the 52, the race winning 52 from Richmond. Further ahead, Tyler Johnson, he won at Charlotte last season. I think he had some great runs at some other tracks like Pocono and such. So the 6 car is good. It's a matter of how good he is at a place like Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm not so sure he's got race-winning pace. Well, I say that, and he goes 3 wide with Grenier and Kinder. How about that to split the slower car of Matt Grenier? They're both going to go on by, take Wyatt Brackett with them, and Winters going to try and do so as well.
Yeah, you're following the 52 right now, going down the inside of Matt Grenier. I don't think Grenier wants to be put up any major fights with any of these guys right now. He knows that his car is a lot older than them. That run down the backstretch, the 3 wide pass, that was pretty cool to see. I'm glad it didn't get any squirrelier than it was. Grenier was sliding up the racetrack a little bit to where Kinder was when they went through that corner that time. You're seeing another pass made, and I think that's going to be a fight with... No, maybe not with Ryan Kendall and Justin Winters. Kendall now up the track, actually. And
well, that's a lap car in the middle of him. That's Lancaster. He is a lap down. In fact, he is in position number, I'm looking for him, 23. He's 2 laps down by our timing and scoring. So I'm not sure what's happened to Adam Lancaster, but big problems for him. But it looks like that speed's starting to get sorted back out. I want to call attention to another string of race cars back here. Jack Bauer leading the charge, Joe. He's in 8th. But then you got Travis Miller, Casey Barlow, a couple of race winners, and Joshua Abbey in all of this.
Joshua Abbey, one of those names that's been kind of starting to get some speed together, just like Jack Bauer, who you saw on your screen there. The guys who hadn't had big standout performances in Season 1, but they're starting to get their feet underneath them in Season 2 here at the Bluegrass iRacing Series. Joshua Abbey on a charge to try to get himself up towards the top 10 this time, and he's going to break in just as I say it. Thank goodness for Josh. He's now up into 10th spot in that 5 machine. But yeah, you talk about drivers with speed, and it's kind of surprising to see it. Not that it's not to talk down. It's just kind of, you come through these races, you see cycles, especially in races where we have long green flag stints with cautions and whatnot. Joshua Abbey's been putting together a really great race. So has Noggle and Ed Osborne, especially. These two you see on your screen duking it out just behind now for 10th spot. Nick Noggle has acquired that position as we're starting to see some cars come through the pit lane. Joshua Abbey moved up a spot with that. Travis Miller is back a little bit as well, but that 22 car has been holding on to some solid speed through the beginning stages of this race on his return to the series. Be watching for him to keep it moving forward and especially put the afterburners on towards the second stage's completion.
So in all of that, Casey Barlow got by Travis Miller, and Jack Bauer fell to the back end of that line. He's now in 9th. There was that scoring error as well. Quite simply, Brandon Robertson so far ahead, in fact, all the way across the racetrack from those guys that we were covering, that Robertson failed to keep rendering. We run into that problem a lot when somebody gets out to these kinds of leads. So actually, if anything, we're more thankful for that than anything else when it comes to our stage breaks that come at halfway of these races. Brandon Robertson still leading. In fact, he has now led 33, coming to 34 laps. That is over half of the distance so far, and it feels like he still just started leading. I mean, he came out of nowhere, took this thing, and has run with it.
I think one thing that's really great about Brandon's run is that we had those we had that green flag pit cycle, so we saw a couple more guys getting laps led and getting those bonus points. But at the same time, Brandon Robertson just ran his race, came in, got his tires and fuel when he needed to, just ran smooth. He's been running very quickly in that car as well, but he just ran his own run, didn't worry about the whole cycle going on. He just did what he had to do to maintain the speed and the position he had over the rest of the guys behind him. You see on your screen John Kinder and Tyler Johnson, the other two cars in the top three. No trouble, no any sort of trouble from behind, no pressure for Brandon Robertson right now. He's just running smooth and clean, way out front. Now you're checking in on Tyler Johnson, who's got Wyatt Brackett all in his tail, so we're going to see if that 33 car's got a little extra speed and can get past the 6 machine coming out of turn number 2 that time. Brandon Robertson absolutely put his blinders on, stayed on track, did what he had to do with that car, and it's really great to see him up front. I think he deserves that gap right now.
This is the battle for third, and this is again on the top step of the podium. Now come up to lap 65. Wyatt Brackett in the 33's got a head of steam. Can he go anywhere in one? No, he's going to back out, and actually Johnson pulls some time on him on entry. But watch this 33 to narrow the gap back down the back stretch. Gets a good run out of turn 2, and they both go by Scott Fritz. They're all in contact! Whoa.
I don't know what more to say about that. Scott Fritz coming down to the apron this time through. We'll see if he comes through the pit lane or he goes back up track. So he's just trying to stay out of the way of the rest of the cars coming through. We'll catch our replay here and see just what went wrong, that we saw Tyler Johnson and Scott Fritz make contact down the back. I think minimal damage was the result of this one, Andrew, but obviously Tyler Johnson just trying to be aggressive and making that lap car pass to, I guess, extend his lead over Wyatt Brackett.
Yeah, I mean, he was just trying to go by, but in doing so ends up really damaging the, well, I don't know if I can say really damaging, it's hard to say, but really hurting that 6 car. I want to watch the onboard here. Sorry, really hurting the 1 car. I want to watch the onboard of the steering wheel. It's like he makes the move and then comes back to get the wheel straight. And, you know, to be honest, it could be one of those things where, I mean, it is Atlanta. You're dealing with very low grip, and while we do have the high downforce package, it's still reduced grip just because of the track surface. So I wonder if the rear end just fishtailed the slightest bit, and the car just kind of went back up the racetrack a little bit on him. I mean, that certainly wasn't intentional. It's not like he's going to tear off the right side of his car on purpose, but man, I've not seen something like that in a while.
Yeah, it might have been a small lapse in judgment or whereabouts of that lapped car at the moment. What it did allow was it allowed Wyatt Brackett to make that pass, and you see Tyler Johnson's not giving it up very easily at all, but for the moment the 33 car has broken back into the top 3. Tyler Johnson very strong in that 6 machine. You can see the run he's trying to pull off of the outside of turn 4. He tried to get a little bit of extra momentum off the top side. It didn't quite work out for him, but he's still got plenty of draft, still got plenty of rubber on those tires. I think he's definitely not given up, and if anything, he's got his bullhorns on, and he's really motivated to make that pass back.
Yeah, he wants to get that spot back, decide now the right side, or sorry, besides the right side damage to the number 6 Chevrolet. But while this continues on, I want to update everybody else on some of the battles that you're seeing kind of shaking up. A lot of that, again, some of the cars rendering, de-rendering as we sit so far away from them on the racetrack that iRacing just can't quite keep up with them. Because, again, we're in 1 and 2, and those battles are off in 3 and 4. Just the opposite side of the racetrack. The field's so spread out right now, but that's what happens when you come to a place like Atlanta. Things get very strung out, and really, everybody's racing the track more so than each other.
I think that's a really great point, actually, Andrew, that these guys are out here racing the track rather than each other. That might be why we've had such a long green flag stint, or at least a significant part of why we have, is that they're focusing on running the track, and they're not having to race each other quite as much. That is helping stay green, that they're all spread out like this, but it does make Atlanta very interesting to have to do that in the first place, is to worry about racing the track itself as opposed to trying to race your competitors. Last week at North Wilkesboro, pretty much the opposite. I mean, obviously, you want to race North Wilkesboro itself, but you're on a short track and everybody's all bunched up together, so you have to worry about the cars around you. Whereas here, obviously, we've spread out and the track's eating you up a little bit as well. So these guys are going to be focusing on that a little bit more than they had last week, and that might be playing into the assistance of not only the cars up front, but the guys who are kind of running their own races and getting through these laps clean.
Still watching this battle for third place event, as really it's not going anywhere. Brackett's still nursing that gap now. They're in behind Adam Lancaster, and here comes Scott Fritz again, so we'll stay with this just to make sure. I mean, we did see Scott Fritz get into it 1 week ago with Alan Dobbs, and thankfully they go on by, well, without issue. But, of course, we saw what happened last week with Alan Dobbs, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. But there was absolutely retaliation, and just wanted to make sure. I'm sure Tyler was quick to the mic to apologize. As, Wyatt Brackett. Tyler Reed comes out of the pit lane up ahead, so pit stops are starting to get underway. I think that's part of the issue we're having with scoring, is Johnson's going to have to duck inside as well. Brackett gets tight. Definitely old tires, and Brackett's going to pit right there. Is Johnson considered coming with, but Brackett's going to spin into the pit lane. These two are certainly giving us a lot to talk about.
That was about the latest commit that you could have done with Wyatt Brackett right there. I wouldn't have expected him to come into the pits at all up until he finally came onto the apron. That was very late indeed, and maybe for Tyler Johnson to stay on the same strategy, he wanted to come in with the 33 car, but if Wyatt Brackett had committed late, you can write that one off for Tyler Johnson too. Very tough break, because that took a lot of time off of the 6 car as you see him coming down the pit lane this time, so he will safely enter the pit lane and come down for a little bit of fuel, some tires, try to get to the end of this stage, and maybe by the end of the cycle get a couple extra points from the stage. But he did write off a lot of time with that little miscue coming down the pits the first time.
I think he wanted to pit that time, but couldn't quite get down there with Brackett. I think he wanted to pit with Wyatt and just couldn't roll the car down in time. This is on board with Ed Osborne right now. You see everybody coming back onto the racetrack. There's Fritz, there's Brackett up ahead, and just trying to blend in. And it's going to get very interesting here in a moment as Brackett's trying to find a way by the 68 of Kendall. The 8 of Smith is going to pit on the bottom, but the 68 of Kendall went up the racetrack just a bit, and I think he might have been trying to let Brackett go by even, but there was nowhere for either one of them to go. I mean, they went in the same direction and really ran out of racing room really, really quickly. Kendall, I believe, has already pitted. Yeah, I mean, Kendall is already sorted out. He pitted 14 laps ago. I'm really curious by all of these differing strategies. I thought they would have tried to break this into one stop only, but it's looking like everybody on a 2-stop strategy. Suddenly, Matt Grenier looks a whole lot smarter, doesn't he?
Yeah, actually, that is playing into his favor right now. I think the track eating up the tires we've been talking about all night, a very abrasive circuit, could be a factor for why these guys didn't want to try to make it a one-stop-in-the-middle type stage for the moment. Casey Barlow, you had seen him coming down the pit lane. You're watching Matt Grenier on your screen right now. As for Kendall and Brackett, I would think with Brackett having the fresher tires, Kendall obviously having older tires, when you have the older tires, the top side's more your friend, a little more forgiving on the car if you run up high, and maybe Ryan Kendall was thinking, I should be the one up there if I have the older tires. Brackett was trying to be aggressive and make some moves, and obviously it didn't quite work out. But you're looking at Daniel Worthington, number 113 car, somebody we don't talk a whole lot about throughout the season at the front end of the field, but he's doing that right now, Andrew.
He could be looking at trying to stretch this one out. Honestly, if I'm somewhere back outside of the top 5, I would want to. I say that and he's going to pit. I do that all the time, don't I? Maybe he's going for it, and then no, they pit immediately. And Worthington does exactly that. Maybe we can count on Ronnie Shirt to go for it. I mean, it would definitely take some throttle discipline to save some fuel, but man, I don't know. If I was one of these drivers, I think I'd want to try and make it work, especially from where they were. I mean, they had, what, I think 15 laps less or so. We came to the restart on 16 coming to 17. I definitely would have tried to make this a one-stop from there at the very least. I'm so surprised at all of the 2-stop strategies in this race, and it looks like, yeah, Ronnie's going to do the same thing. I really can't believe it. CJ Mason, he does the same thing. So here comes Matt Grenier. He's going to come on by. No! He's in a battle with Brandon Robertson, and Robertson takes it away.
Yeah, I had gotten an update from our social media man, Corey Rexford, that Brandon Robertson was having some trouble with lap traffic for a little bit there. Obviously, he had built such a large gap before that it didn't have enough of an impact for him to stay behind Matt Grenier to this point. Brandon Robertson gets back into position number uno, as Matt Grenier is going to have to let him go through and be running second right now. So much better tires on that number 2 machine for the moment. Grenier has no challenge for him. John Kinder back there in third spot has taken it back from Wyatt Brackett, who was up there for a little while as well. We got about 4 laps to go before the end of this stage, so things are kind of starting to get into their final positions, and with a couple last second pit stops for those guys who might need it, I think we're getting to the point where we're seeing the order we could prospectively at least see at the end of stage number 1.
We've got a battle, it looks like, possibly for the final couple of spots back here. I'm trying to get to it. Nicholas Noggle sits in 11th right now. Bryce Hunter's not so far ahead. And actually, Noggle and Osborne could switch positions. No, Osborne has actually fallen back. He's now battling with Mitch Smith. This is for 13th. As Ed's trying to find a way by. Tyler Reed is in there as well. This is a battle just outside the stage point paying area, but Osborne looks like he will try and take it away on the bottom side. That time by will do so. Robertson is clear by about 2 seconds or so over Grenier. And then, Wyatt Brackett. He's taken over a position from John Kinder. And the last I had checked, it was not so. The last I had seen, John Kinder was definitely ahead, so something's happened to the 21 now, and has given that third position to Wyatt Brackett. The next battle we have within the top 10 is going to be right here. Casey Barlow, Travis Miller, they're fighting for 7th spot, it looks like, and Joshua Abbey is not all that far back of Bryce Hunter. You see that white car on the bottom side up ahead. So a whole lot of fighting within the top 10 for these stage points. Coming out of turn number 4, this should be the white flag on the stage for Brandon Robertson.
I believe this is either the white flag or the finish of it. We come through again, Brandon Robertson through 1 and 2. They keep it green for the moment. So Brandon Robertson is coming down through turn number 2. Onto the back stretch, the number 2 machine has no challenge from behind, but you can see on timing and scoring, there was a gap that had been lost from the 2 car to the 15 based off of the last time they came through. But out of turn number 4 this time, it's not going to make any difference because we're coming to the stage end. Brandon Robertson is going to be your stage 1 winner here at Atlanta tonight.
Grenier will file in second place. Brackett not all that far back.
Caution is out. Caution is out.
The caution will fly, and that should solidify all of the top 10 results at the time of yellow flag. So I would look at Robertson, Grenier, Brackett, Kinder, Johnson, your top 5. Then it's Winters, Miller, Hunter, Abbey. And is that correct with Osborne? No. Further back, it's going to be Miller, Barlow, Hunter, Abbey, the top 10. So the top 10 definitely very, very, what's the word? Varied? That's not the word. A wide variety, I suppose. And a whole lot of parity throughout. I mean, Tyler Johnson up into the top 5, snagging some stage points. Granted, he can't go for the championship, but Bryce Hunter gets a few. Joshua Abbey gets 1. Justin Winters grabs a few for himself. And, I mean, I can't say enough about Wyatt Brackett's run here in stage number 1. This has been incredible from the 33.
Yeah, you talk about that. I mean, look at the top 5. You got Brandon Robertson. He's won races this season. Matt Grenier, race winner this season. Then there's Wyatt Brackett. He's still fighting with the championship and running for points to try to get himself into the playoffs. Behind him's John Kinder, who hasn't won a race yet this season, but keep in mind he's the championship leader, and he's pretty safe. And then you go back to 5th, Tyler Johnson, obviously not a part of the equation for the championship and the playoffs. So for Wyatt Brackett right now, I mean, he's looking at that, and he's got no challenge from anybody near him that's got the championship in mind with points. So for him, great performance, and that's really what he needs to do. He needs to keep piecing that together as you see the leaders coming down pit road here under the stage break. That's the type of thing Wyatt Brackett needs to keep continuing his run forward in the playoffs. So we're going to pull in the driver of the number 2 machine. Brandon Robertson, this is Joe Donahue. Do you got a copy?
I do. How are you guys?
Well, we're doing pretty good. Maybe not as good as you, Mr. Stage Winner. You absolutely had that car hooked up throughout stage one. Tell me, how did you get so much speed out of that car?
It's pretty easy when you take 4 tires every time. That's going to burn me in the back end of this race, but man, I took 4 when everybody else took fuel only. Wyatt and I were out there on 4 fresh tires from lap 15, and I knew it was kind of a waste if I didn't win the stage, so I just kept taking 4. So I'm on left sides only here, and we'll see what happens. I think the people behind me are going to blow right by me.
Yeah, we had seen that under this yellow that you took 2 tires, and it looks like Wyatt actually took none in front of you, so he beat you out of the pits, but he's got no fresh rubber on that 33 car. You talked about getting fresh tires every single time and trying to make the most out of your run. It seemed like you did a really great job throughout the first stint of being patient and running your own race, even fighting back through the field when those pit cycles were happening.
Yeah, I think kind of more of the same here. I think I don't know. I'll probably take right sides in the first stint here on the next in about 25 laps, and then for the last stage I want to be on 4 fresh tires. But if anybody has a set saved and we have like a late caution, I mean, it's going to be no contest. They'll definitely win it.
Yeah, having the fresh rubber at the end of the race is certainly a great advantage, and obviously, like you said, that would be optimal for you. So I'll let you go here because I know you got to get set up to do another handful of laps to get to the end of this one. Good luck. If there's anybody you'd like to thank or anything you'd like to say before we let you go to get this green flag, I'll give you the floor, though.
Hey, thanks to PitStop TV for broadcasting and Bluegrass iRacing Series for putting this on. It's been good.
Awesome stuff, Brandon. Well, thank you for spending your stage break with us. We appreciate it. We'll let you go. Good luck, and we might be talking to you again soon before the night's over.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
So there's the very respectable Brennan Robertson. Great to have on track, great to have in the booth. Always appreciate his professionalism and his insight here when he comes on with us, Andrew. We sent him back because we're coming to the green again, getting double filed back up to go back to green flag here at Atlanta.
Just our second caution flag of the night, and the double deuce going to start on, well, I'd say pole. I guess start in position number 1. He's leading our double file field to the green flag this time by, we'll take it, on lap 89 of 167 at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. If you're just joining us, this is the Bluegrass iRacing Series, race number 9 of 16, including tonight, just 4 to go to the playoff cutoff. A lot of points battles through and through. Travis Miller makes his return to the series. He's going to lead the field to the green flag with Wyatt Brackett to his outside and across the stripe. The old tires in the 22 gripping for now, but how much longer until Wyatt Brackett takes that spot away?
I think it's going to be some fight between the two of them. You remember that Wyatt Brackett didn't take tires that time, so whether or not Wyatt can get some momentum off of a draft here, I think he got it, and he's going to use it. He goes to the inside, 33 to 22, side-by-side. Matt Grenier drives right past Brandon Robertson. He had said he was expecting to get passed by some of the guys who took 4 tires there. You see John Kinder down on the inside as well, trying to make moves. Grenier to the inside of Wyatt Brackett. Travis Miller, no trouble up front, though. He's still your race leader.
I'm amazed by the 22 cars staying up front right now. You see everybody getting very close, looking like pace laps down the backstretch. It looks like 3rd through 8th. One car on the apron, that's Tyler Reed back there, but this side-by-side trio of roses. Oh, Brackett backs up on the top side. He's got no grip up there. Johnson gets to the bottom of Robertson, and Robertson going to try and fight now with Wyatt Brackett. Up at the front, though, a change of the race lead, and Matt Grenier going to take his spot back at P1.
Change of the guard, put the 15 back in first place. Travis Miller's going to maybe lose out to the number 21 on the inside. John Kinder holding it down low. You're on board with Justin Winters. The Allen's Body Shop number 52 is going to try to make a pass as well. Casey Barlow, Tyler Johnson round out that train down on the inside. Travis Miller with no new tires didn't even come down the pit lane. I think he's just going to very easily get eaten up by these guys. But I wonder in the long run, is that the right strategy? Because you got to think there's plenty of race left, and to not take tires that time, to save them for later, might be doing that thing Brandon Robertson talked about there in that stage break. If you have a fresh set ready to go at the end for a late race caution, you're going to be the guy to beat.
I mean, something that confuses me is, I mean, these guys could have saved a set by stretching those fuel runs out in the previous run. If you just pit the one time, you don't even have the temptation of taking extra tires. You can absolutely save that set right there. I'd have thunk to do it there. Waste the time on a green flag before the stage break, if you're me. That's just my thought, I guess, from a driver's standpoint. But hey, these guys have made their beds. It's time to lie in it. And meanwhile, I don't know where these guys are getting this run down the backstretch. It seems like every lap there's a new massive draft down the back that just leads to some kind of massive run into 3. Now, side by side, almost even across the line, are Kinder and Grenier.
John Kinder holding it down low for the race lead. Justin Winters trying to draft up with him on the inside of Matt Grenier. Casey Barlow riding steady in behind them. You talk about this race we got going on for the race lead. There's a nice little fight further back on out with the guys who broke off from this top 5 breakaway. That race you see on your screen now is with Travis Miller holding up the top side. A couple of guys going to the bottom. Nick Noggle, CJ Mason, Tyler Reed. Now you're seeing Daniel Worthington and Ryan Kendall try to do the same on the inside of the BRP number 22 Ford. Kendall's going to make that run down the inside into turn number 1 and try to get Daniel Worthington with it as an advantage out of turn number 2.
Worthington slides high, gives that spot away, and up front, well, a little ways up front, I suppose, Tyler Reed. He's suddenly come out of nowhere as well. He's up in the top 10, and in fact, Nicholas Noggle there is not for position. The 08 is actually the first car 1 lap down, so Tyler Reed's actually in 8th spot because Kendall is also lapped. Ryan Kendall is battling with Nicholas Noggle to get that lucky dog position if a caution should come out.
Well, that's a very important position to be in if you are a lap down already. You've got so much time left in this race, it could certainly happen, and being that lucky dog is just a freebie to get back into the race if you are a lap down, so obviously they're going to fight for it as much as they can. You're on board with Ryan Kendall right now down the inside of Nick Noggle. Brandon Robertson kind of holding up the top side right there, but just as we said, you got to be racing for that lucky dog spot. These guys are racing for position, and obviously Brandon Robertson's kind of got to relinquish it because he's got the older tires. However, Tyler Reed, Ryan Kendall, they're not going to be holding up at all.
And Ryan Kendall, he's had top 5 pace most of the season. I'm surprised to see him a lap down, fighting for 19th position amongst the top 10. I mean, that's really painful to see for Kendall's season, and it's going to be tough for him to turn that around. But if we do get a yellow flag, he will turn it around a bit. Nicholas Noggle, unfortunately, we've gotten more and more used to seeing him in about 20th position. But even so, these guys have such great pace right now, and they're mired through the top 10 as, oh, wow, he almost made contact with Reed through turn 2, and Reed's going to constrict his exit out of the corner as well, hanging way off the wall down the backstretch, really forcing Noggle to stay on the bottom, and that time they get even closer on the entry of 3. Reed finally concedes, as that's not a battle for a point-paying position, but this one is, as Joshua Abbey inserts his name.
Joshua Abbey just kind of coming up out of nowhere. The Texan in the number 5 machine down the inside of Tyler Reed. And he's going to take that spot, move the 5 to 7th on the grid. So he's still on the charge, trying to get further and further up and get more and more points for his run in the playoffs, or at least to try to get into the playoffs. He's got some draft off of Nick Noggle, who's certainly fast enough to be a member of this train right now. And Joshua Abbey's going to be thankful for the draft to give him a little bit of a momentum booster down the straightaway and down to turn number 1. He goes low, Noggle goes high. I don't think we're going to see a pass out of him this time, but Tyler Reed definitely holding on as well. If Nicholas Noggle and Josh Abbey get too close, I think that 14 car can try to make a run and maybe make that pass back.
Abbey looked low, didn't... Oh, now he's going to try and take it to the inside, not quite. Had to back out as soon as he got there. I mean, this is just the art of trying to pass even a lap car. Noggle's trying to hang on, and he's trying to hang on to all the time he can to try and get back up to Ryan Kendall further ahead. You see the gap there. But, of course, Noggle is holding these guys up just a bit. I honestly say the 5 car is certainly just a little bit faster at the moment. I think Joshua Abbey's got a great piece underneath him, but can't go anywhere with it. Granted, he is up into 7th position, which is nothing to scoff at. Tyler Reed, company from Brandon Robertson, that is for 8th and 9th. And actually a position change right here as the top 10 swaps hands. Bryce Lee Hunter up into the top 10.
Bryce and Worthington are fighting it out at the very end of the top 10. Bryce Hunter, one of those guys who had been a member of the playoff race for a while. Wouldn't quite count him out yet. Certainly not having as good of a day as he did at Road America. You're seeing a pretty good battle fight right in front of him on your screen. But Bryce certainly running in 10th place is a good run. And that's enough for you to start making moves in the championship as you go forward with these last 3 races after this. And if Bryce could just tick off a few more spots and be consistent over the course of the next 3 races to do that, he could put himself back into the top 16.
Yeah, but he comes in just a couple of spots out as, there's a checkup out of 2, and that puts Abby back underneath the 08 of Noggle. It looks like he finally might get on by that 08 Toyota Camry. He will do so as Reed now slots in behind the 08 car. Again, this not for position. Noggle's trying to hang on and get into a lucky dog spot, but he's got quite a gap to make up if he wants to do so. And I'm not so sure that really it's reasonable for him to keep fighting at this point. He's lost a lot of time to the 68. In fact, it's somewhere in the number of 2.7 seconds. And at this point, he's starting to hold these guys up, racing just inside the top 10, Joe. At some point, I think you've got to move over and concede.
Yeah, once you've lost that time, obviously, like you said, over 2 seconds now between Noggle and Kendall, I think you got to be respectful of these other guys out here racing for points, and especially some of these guys like Bryce Hunter, Joshua Abbey, people who are racing to try to make sure they can stay in the playoff run that they have, or at least have started. You have to, have the wherewithal and the respect for them and what they are trying to do here at Atlanta to let them go and let them run to the 100% capacity that their cars can right now. I'm watching Brandon Robertson in this mix too, because Robertson, like we said, took 2 tires on the yellow. These guys maybe had taken more, but right now he's found a group that he's consistent with on speed, and he's holding on to, or at least has been holding on to, Bryce Hunter and Tyler Reed. That might have been because of Noggle or not. Finally, Tyler Reed gets that pass on the 08 lap car, and Bryce Hunter will try to follow. So Reed didn't quite complete it, but he's going for it on the inside to get past, and maybe that will get him out and open the gate to let him pass and extend his run over Brandon Robertson. I don't think he's going to do so with Hunter, but maybe he can get that 2 car further in his mirror.
These guys still fighting tooth and nail just inside the top 10. And this is actually bringing Daniel Worthington into the fight as well. He's 11th place, not so far back now of Brandon Robertson. And let's not forget guys back here in about 12th, 13th, 14th. Gary Jazorski, one of those. He sits 14th right now. This is, I think, the best run we've seen out of the number 18 Toyota Camry so far this season. And I've been told today that it is his anniversary, so happy anniversary to Mr. and Mrs. Jazorski as he fights inside the top 15. He's looking great today.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's running really strong right now, and if you've got an anniversary, and you've got a race to get on iRacing to do, and you're allowed to go do it, props to that. A lot of people would probably take the night off, go get a nice dinner, do something fun or whatnot as a couple on a little date. Gary Jazorski is out here racing with us. We appreciate that. And to Mrs. Jazorski, we very much appreciate you sharing your mans with us for the evening to come out here and race, and it's paying off for him right now. As Andrew said, one of the strongest runs we've seen out of that car, very consistent. I think that's a part of the equation Jazorski's been lacking in recent weeks, is the consistency in your car to get a whole race in with minimal incidents. And right now, obviously, he's showing that he's got some speed, he's got the consistency, and he's at least keeping that car underneath him to run without too much trouble, as he's got Jack Bauer all over his tail at the moment.
We also see some other battles back here. This is Wyatt Brackett on Mitch Smith. Wyatt in the 15th position. After starting this stage so close to the front, has fallen way, way back. But we don't want to lose sight of what's happening up front, because it's a nose-to-tail battle with the top 2. And suddenly, Justin Winter's in the conversation. He won at Atlanta a season ago. Does he have what it takes to get this thing done tonight?
That would be really cool to see. There's a good battle going on right now for this spot. The race lead is 2 drivers who have been competitive in this series, especially last season. Justin Winters and John Kinder were two guys to watch week in and week out. Right now, you can see that the gap's pretty constant between the two of them as they come through 3 and 4. Two black and green machines leading the way. You've got the 21 out front of Justin Winters. I know the Justin Winters fan club's going to be cheering him on and trying to see that 52 make the pass back up to the race lead at the moment. Would be really nice to get that 52 back to victory lane.
Yeah, and I mean, it'd be huge for his season, honestly. He's fallen way out. He's outside the top 20 in point standings right now. He got that win at Richmond, but don't let that fool you into thinking he has been in the top 5 like last season. It's been a shaky go for Justin Winters so far in 2021, and I don't want to put him down too harshly, but that's just the fact of it. He is, again, outside the top 20 in points, but he has that win to rely on right now, which is keeping his head above water, keeping him in the playoffs, but he's got to turn this season around, and I think Alex Huffman on the box is helping him do so tonight. He's got that win last season to rely on. It looks like he's doing so tonight as well. Tyler Johnson out of turn 2 gets loose, but this is the kind of run Winters needs, and let's not forget that this would be a first win on the season for John Kinder if he can get it done. Meanwhile, Casey Barlow in the middle of a couple of lap cars here as Scott Fritz lets these guys go on by, and Johnson through the grass to get to the inside of Lancaster.
You see a lot of aggression coming out of that number 6 car right now. He gets down the inside of the 28 to stay on the tail of Casey Barlow. They're just trying to put the lap car behind him. Adam Lancaster not giving up at all, though. And in fact, even though it's pretty damaged, it's pretty fast. That number 28 machine on the top side still running, and in fact, putting a little bit of a gap on the 6, who's got to stay down low. Actually, I say that because Tyler Johnson relinquishes it, comes down pit lane. Justin Winters did the same. We got our first round of them.
And this is 50 laps at the end of the race. They're going to have to pit one more time. Jaworski's also in. He's exiting. And Bauer's in as well. I want to mention, Lancaster was really fighting those guys really, really hard 8 laps down. And I go back to talking about, who was it? Nicholas Nagel earlier. At some point, you've got to concede. You're not racing anybody for a position on your own lap. Let these guys go by. Hang on to the back end and save your stuff. But Adam Lancaster, he's still trying to race Casey Barlow, and he's 8 laps down. Casey Barlow does take the race lead as John Kinder comes down the pit lane.
So I believe that is the first lap that Casey Barlow is going to lead tonight, and that will get him bonus points, which he does not need as a race winner. He's already put himself into playoffs, but still cool for Casey to get up front for the time being, and we'll see how long that lasts before the 51 comes to pit lane. Matt Grenier still running behind him. As we look to third place, as here's Casey Barlow coming down pit lane. Matt Grenier is going to follow, but you know who didn't? Was that 55 car, and I was just going to say, look who's charging. CJ Mason, one of those people who's had ups and downs this season. He has now taken first spot.
And I'll have to check my notes, but I believe he's fallen out of the playoffs, or at least towards the bottom thereof, and yeah, he's dropped out of the playoffs at this point, so he really needs a big, big run. I'm not so sure that it's going to happen based on him just staying out here a couple of extra laps, but if he can turn this around, if he can actually kind of overcut this time to undercut on the next one and really have good tires on his car for this next little stint, make up some time, he might be able to make up the points he needs to get back into the fight for the P16 by the end of the season. He's got a very early pit box here. The third one in means he started the third from the back of the field. Tyler Reed going to follow him in, and here comes David Brackett as well. You saw the 38 come by, the 46 of Nick Mills after his early incident. There goes Ed Osborne, Dakota Shepard, Chris LeBourgeois. I guess you can just hang around Mason's pit and see everybody come on in from the midfield on back. And actually Osborne is going to take over the race lead right there for a moment. I don't think he got the lap led, but at least for a moment was listed as P1. Justin Winters is going to take over the race lead. What happened to John Kinder? Well, he is, it looks like 3 or 4 seconds back right now. He, I don't know how he lost that time to Justin Winters, but one hell of a pit stop there for the 52 crew.
Absolutely, but also to the 6 team. Look at Tyler Johnson just holding on in second place. They're going to come past the line this time, and we'll see if our timing and scoring gives us a gap of 0.226. So now it's a little bit larger between those two cars, but Tyler Johnson is certainly within striking distance of the 52 over the course of this run. Awesome to see Tyler up front, like we'd said before. He comes in and out with the series, but when he's here, he's always competitive. Justin Winters, you got me a little nervous up there, buddy, going through this lap traffic. Look at the run from the 6 car, 3 wide. Thought better of it. Smart move by Tyler Johnson, not taking those 2 fast racing machines out of this event.
This is going to help Kinder out. He's already down to a second. That was a half second that just got cost for these two. And, I mean, Tyler almost took advantage of it, but, again, intelligently backed out. Self-preservation, a big, big thing when you're racing 167 laps. But now he fights the inside. Can't quite stick with him. Now he'll try and get a run out of 4. And he's actually going to make a ton of time up on the bottom side as Kinder starts to pressure these two into a battle.
This side-by-side racing is just going to be helping John Kinder catch back up to the 2 of them. Tyler Johnson completes that run, and maybe Justin Winters heard me a little bit there. He slides back in, going to take position number 2 so that he can get the run down the backstretch and the draft off of the 6 machine. Dives back to the bottom again. The black and green car on the inside is Justin Winters. Gets the race lead back on the inside of turns 3 and 4. Tyler Johnson off the top. Maybe goes for the bottom side. Doesn't get there. Justin Winters put his car down low to make sure Tyler Johnson couldn't get slid back in on the inside. Look at how much time John Kinder's made up. A 3-horse race now for the race lead out of turn number 2.
These are the shots I love. These make it feel so much more real as you can watch from the perspective of one of these race cars as John Kinder comes up alongside of the number 6, is going to try and take that spot away and make it a couple of black and green machines up front once more. Kinder trying to fight up there, and he'll get it. How about that drive out of John Kinder? Now he'll look to the bottom side of Justin Winters, and he just takes that spot away and almost actually got it a bit deep, and seemed like he was maybe going to push into the 52. That's just going to bring Tyler Johnson right back into it. This fight is not over.
Not over. This fight has just begun. Look at these 2 cars side by side for the race lead right now. John Kinder with a nice little run on the inside, puts his nose out front of the 52 through 3 and out of 4. I think we're going to go single file instantaneously here on the front stretch. Look at the 52. Holy close. Hello, Justin. You're right up the tail of the 21 machine into turn number 1. This time they back it off a little bit. You got Chris LeBourgeois in the lurking background. That's a lap car, nothing to worry about in position for these 3 cars, but they're fighting like dogs right now. Tyler Johnson all over the tail of the 52, still going for it into turn number 3, looking for a way to get around Justin Winters right now. Not going to get it through 3 and 4 this time, but getting into the lap traffic, it's self-preservation time. Just got to get through these cars and make sure you don't put a tire wrong, which Tyler Johnson got him in the grass a little bit there in the trioval.
I'm sure Sarah May is in our YouTube chat like that view of the 52 car a couple of laps ago, because when we had him front and center, about as close as you can get without making contact right there was Justin Winters, the back end of John Kinder. Now into 3 and 4, it's lap 25 of 167. Just over 40 laps to go for these drivers, and the intensity is just picking up. John Kinder does get clear of this battle. He's going to take off and try and run away with it, but Justin Winters, Tyler Johnson, they're not done fighting for second place. It's worth mentioning further back, there's a fight between Joshua Abbey and Brandon Robertson, but we don't want to take eyes away from this just yet because Johnson's still trying to look back to the bottom side. He'll do so in 3.
You know, I was thinking about whether or not Tyler Johnson and Justin Winters would at least work together in the sense that they could hold on to John Kinder's tail as they were racing down the backstretch. But as I was about to start talking about it, Tyler Johnson poked his nose to the inside, and that is how you relinquish time to the race leader, is when you go side by side like that. So for the moment, a little bit of extra space for the number 21 machine, as Tyler Johnson still putting plenty of pressure on Justin Winters. I wouldn't count them out yet, but you watch Tyler Johnson look down the inside, taking a little peek, see the 6 car to the bottom. 52 runs the top side. Going to try to hold some momentum up top. Is that Allen's Body Shop number 52? The Valvoline number 6, the Chevrolet on the inside, goes to the grass again. That might be a strategy move because he's done that a couple times now, Tyler Johnson, just trying to minimize the amount of track you have to run through and shorten it as much as possible there on the front stretch. Maybe paid off this time. He got a little bit of a nose. Down the backstretch again, that momentum is going to put the 52 in the catbird seat to get back into second.
Imagine if Johnson's running down there to try and cool the left sides off a little bit. It seems like it's working out for him, whatever he's doing, but he almost slides up, almost feeds Justin Winters a face full of right rear quarter panel, and I mean, he almost made contact, almost like a slide job gone wrong on dirt, but they keep going. I mean, this is just too good of a battle to leave right now. Locked in side by side. This is the stuff we miss in NASCAR racing at this point, if I'm being entirely honest, because it's just so hard to race. Even on iRacing with these cars, it's so hard to race side by side if they're finding a way to do it.
I thought this series has done a good job of that overall. I think that we've had a lot of great opportunities to see racing like that, and I'm with you on it, Andrew. I'm very happy to see this racing. Makes it really exciting. I'm living in it. I'm thrilling with it. I'm having a good time here at Atlanta right now. Tyler Johnson may be having the same deal. I know Justin Winters and him are going to be beating themselves up a little bit that they got so far into that fight with each other that they let John Kinder get about a second lead over the two of them. As you see Tyler Johnson trying to do it again here on the inside of 3 and 4 and make a run on Justin Winters. A really great fight, still shaping up for second place, and there's still plenty of race left for something to happen, maybe a yellow or maybe pit stop strategy going to shake things up a little bit in the future. We got plenty of time, but for the moment, we got a nice battle for second to watch.
And we're watching it from the perspective of 21st place, Chris LeBourgeois, who ends up looking out a little bit in turn 2 right there. I thought Chris LeBourgeois just kind of hanging in right now. He's a lap down. He's in 21st position. Actually, is he 2 laps down possibly? Yeah, 2 laps down. I think he's the first one 2 laps down. Not having the greatest of nights, just kind of hanging around, running laps, but still not all that bad of an evening, and he's got a great battle out front to watch as Johnson finally is going to clear the 52 of Justin Winters, and that might be game over for that battle. So we'll finally check in on now Bryce Lee Hunter and Brandon Robertson. This now the fight for 7th and 8th as Joshua Abbey has checked out from Brandon Robertson, and Hunter easily down to the bottom side of last week's winner and the current number 1 seed in the playoffs. What is this out of Brandon Robertson?
I'm not sure if I'd say what that is for Brandon Robertson right now. I think that the guy knows he's got to be patient to the end of this race. But as for Bryce Hunter, this speed is incredible. This is awesome to see the 9 car fighting his way through the field like he has been in this race. Obviously one of those guys fighting at the tail end of the playoff run and trying to get into 16th in the championship to continue his effort for the championship as we move forward. This is the type of performance you need to secure that. Same goes for the guy just in front of that 9 machine on track, who's way up on him, is Joshua Abbey, the driver out of Texas in that 5 car. Had some ups and downs. We've said that before in the broadcast, and we've seen it here on PitStop TV. But for the moment, Joshua Abbey looks like he's got a really great car underneath him, has been holding on to the top 10 for the majority of this race. Obviously, pit stop strategy shakes things up a little bit, but that car seems to be locked in, and Joshua Abbey seems to be well in control of it as they count down the laps to the finish.
I love being able to zoom in and get a look at this 5 car, and let's take a look at some of the other cars throughout the top 10. There's Joshua Abbey currently running in 6th, then Bryce Hunter currently running in the 7th spot after starting 15th. We have Brandon Robertson, of course, our stage winner on the evening, running in 8th now. CJ Mason, he's made his way up into 9th, and this is a great run out of him as well. CJ Mason to be fighting inside the top 10 right now. This is the first time we've seen this kind of run out of him. He started 28th on the evening. He's got a lap led. This is great stuff from CJ. These are the kinds of runs we like to see just randomly happen, because CJ has a genuine chance of popping into the top 5, if not better. Wyatt Brackett, we've talked so highly of him in recent weeks, but he is running in 10th spot, down a couple of spots from his start, but still hanging on to what should be a pretty good run. Up front, it's still all John Kinder through 3 and 4. There's the number 21, and he has got some 1.2 seconds back to Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, that little fight that Johnson and Winters had really let John Kinder get a bit of a gap in between them, and I think that's going to help him through the run. But if we saw a yellow, obviously it would go away. For the moment, though, John Kinder can focus on his tires and focus on racing the track, and that's going to really help him as this run counts down to another pit stop sequence. Riding on board with the number 51 machine of Casey Barlow, who has finally caught the tail of just in front of him is Justin Winters. the Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet has backed up a little bit, so now Casey Barlow going to make it a little interesting for us here on the stream. And we'll see if we get a fight for that final podium position. Somebody coming out of the pit lane. That was, I think, Wes Wiggins making his pit stop, so maybe that's a precursor for some other drivers to be coming down the pit lane soon.
Yeah, I think pit stop's certainly on the way. I mean, we just saw a couple of cars come out of the pit lane not so long ago. We're just kind of waiting for them to come down now. How about Bryce Hunter, though? He's gone up and he has driven up to Joshua Abbey, and there's only a 1-lap difference on these tires. The 9 is just fast right now. He is faster than this 5 car, and we might see a pass for position here for 6 before either one of these two pit. We're down to about 28 laps to go this time by the stripe. Time is definitely ticking for these drivers. When do you pit? If you pit earlier, you get new tires sooner. But if you pit later, you're going to have newer tires come to the end of the race. And if it comes down to a late race caution, you've got to restart on that set. That could be all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the big thing. That's why the strategists in motorsport make the big bucks, is because they have to make decisions like that on a weekly basis. And I'm thankful that I'm up here in the booth with PitStop TV rather than sitting on pit lane trying to figure that one out myself, because it's such a gamble either way, whether you want to come in earlier, be faster out of the pits and try to make a little gap that you then try to hold to the end of the race, or if you come in later and then have slightly fresher rubber to try to make some speed at the end of the event. That's a decision I'm glad I don't have to make, but for the moment, these two drivers are thinking about it as they race each other. Joshua Abbey has a mirror full of Bryce Hunter. I was wondering if they'd come down the pit lane that time, but it looked like it was just a little bit of a bobble out of the 5 car in the middle of the corner that got him down to touching those left tires on the white line. We're on board into a pit stall with who was your race leader, John Kinder.
John Kinder in relinquishing the race lead, 27 to go. So now we know the mark. We're waiting for that car to get jacked up. There we go on the left sides. I guess the right side must have gone up, and I didn't quite notice it. That is... See, how long was that pit stop for Kinder? That was a 14.7, so I think that was a full stop. Justin Winters goes one more lap around. It looks like Tyler Johnson, though, comes in. And, oh, that was very fast into some of the boxes. Oh, he misses it! Tyler Johnson deep through his box. Is he going to take 4? He is. I also saw Matt Grenier come through. Does Ryan Kendall go up on the jacks? Yes, the right sides go up. The right sides are up on Grenier's car. Osborne leaves the pit lane. Everybody should grab tires here, I would think, and I would think it would be 4. Oh, here comes 5 cars. We got Mitch Smith, Adam Lancaster, Justin Winters, Casey Barlow, and further back, Mike Brisson coming into the pit lane. This is going to be... Let's see, it should be 4 tire stop for Winters, and it is. I would really hope everybody comes in and has a set of 4 left to go to the end.
Yeah, saving the tires to especially at the end of the race have 4 going on when you make your pit stop. I think that's really important to your late race run that you can put together, because obviously at this point there's been a point that somebody was backing up. That was Wyatt Brackett that missed his pit stall back there and had to throw it in reverse to make it back into his stop. Having 4 tires at the end, you saw obviously John Kinder was leading the race as Brandon Robertson comes in from said position, and he took 4 tires when he came through, John Kinder that is, so he just kind of set the tone for everybody else, and obviously if you're not going to put 4 on, you're going to be caught out. Right now, you're watching CJ Mason on your screen. He is currently leading the way. Mitch Smith out of the pits just in front of him, and in through 3 and 4. We'll wonder how long we'll see that 55 stay out.
Imagine if he stays out a couple of laps and we get a caution flag here. That would really change things up. New purple time there from John Kinder, a 29.791. But CJ Mason putting himself in the position where if something weird happens, he's suddenly in the catbird's seat. Mitch Smith on the bottom side just came out of the pit lane. But CJ really bettering his chances as we come up to 20 laps to go very, very soon. That, again, if something weird happens to the end, he just might be able to capitalize on it. Tucks in behind the 8 car. That was a move like he might be coming into the pit this time. Not quite, as Casey Barlow is going to go on by. So we're just waiting for Mason to pit, and then this should all cycle out to about as it was previously. John Kinder in second place means he will retake the first position. Tyler Johnson second. Matt Grenier in 4th. Justin Winters lost a lot of time through that pit cycle. He falls into 5th, and of course he'll cycle into 4th once time goes on. And Casey Barlow just got his lap back to cycle in, and oh, that's very slow into 3 for CJ Mason. I dare say he's pitting right here.
Yeah, when we came through turn 4 that last time and Casey Barlow flew by on the outside, that just accentuates how much quicker everybody else is than CJ at that moment. And yes, holding out for something crazy to happen in CJ's position was warranted, but obviously you saw how quick everybody else was compared to him, and finally he's going to come down the pit lane and get that car reset. You bring it back, you've got your race leader. Taking it back over is John Kinder in that 21 machine, and he's got almost a 5-second gap to second place, which is Tyler Johnson on your screen right here.
Well, no, this is John Kinder all far and away. I mean, he's got 4.5 seconds back to Justin Winters and Tyler Johnson. At first, Winters had fallen out of this battle, but he's driven himself back into it. Now it's 3 cars fighting for second, third, and fourth. Now that Grenier's on even footing, what can he get second place possibly? And I mean, let's not skip over the fact that this could be John Kinder's first win on the season, and this would really change up the playoff fight.
Yeah, obviously, John Kinder hasn't won a race yet this season. He has been the championship leader in terms of points, so he's been putting together great efforts like this all season long, just hasn't been able to complete it. It would certainly give him the boost and give him the security to get the win and put himself straight into it. But you're looking at Justin Winters and Tyler Johnson. They're still fighting it out like there's no tomorrow for second place.
The fight's still on for second. I want to remind everybody about our partners here at PitStop TV, Tucson Sound Art, Race Pace, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, and Whiplash Media. As this fight rages on, Winters finally gets on back by Johnson, but Tyler's not done yet. We've seen these guys really go at it over the course of the last 40 laps or so. It's crazy to think we've been talking about this battle for 40, 50 laps now. The 6 and 52 all over one another and bringing Grenier into the fight.
Yeah, it's been really awesome to see this fight last for so long and these cars stay close with each other for so long. And I think the green flag runs really have been helping that these guys just had time to focus on running each other through this last couple of turns of the track, as we would say. The 52 machine holds the lead over Tyler Johnson for the moment. Matt Grenier has brought it into the picture now, which is really awesome to see that we're shaping up a 3-car fight for the moment out of turn number 4. They're all pretty far spaced apart at this moment in time. They come through with about 16 laps left on the race, so we've certainly got time for them to group back up again and give it a good fight, but for the moment it looks like it's smooth sailing.
And how about this amazing race? This takes us back to Kansas, where we had just the 1 stage caution. We've got just 2 tonight, 26 lead changes by virtue of all these pit stops and pit cycles. An amazing race tonight here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. This has been great stuff out of this entire Bluegrass iRacing Series field. And now the battle for second is kind of disappearing as the battle for third just kind of holds tight. Grenier not too far back from Johnson, but not really getting any closer. And meanwhile, Ronnie Shirk Jr. looks like fighting with CJ Mason. This was for 11th, and Mason just went on by as if, he was standing still, and he kind of was, I think, Ronnie Shirk, based on the newer tires there for Mason. This is a fight inside the top 10. This is Bryce Hunter in 7th leading. Well, actually, no, this is Joshua Abbey in 6th, then Bryce Hunter in 7th, then Brandon Robertson down to the bottom side in 3 and 4. He's going to try and take 7th away.
I think he's going to succeed in taking that spot too. Brandon Robertson moves the 2 machine past Bryce Hunter and might be starting to trek towards Joshua Abbey and get back inside the top 5. We've talked about Joshua Abbey having a great car underneath him, but we've also talked about Brandon Robertson being strong today, and obviously winning that first stage sets a tone for the end of the event. Right now he's catching Joshua Abbey very quickly, very, very quickly into turn number 3. This time you see that gap diminish and diminish. As I say it, maybe a little bit of a poor entry from the 2 machine backs it up a little bit, but out of turn number 4, you can see how much faster that 2 car is right now. Brandon Robertson's going to give a lot of pressure to Josh Abbey. Actually looks down the inside, and I think Abbey just kind of going to let him do his thing.
Whoa, we've got a massive crash. Tyler Johnson, Wes Wiggin, maybe Matt Grenier, Travis Miller at the center of it all. Oh, this changes everything. Nothing is ever guaranteed in racing. Painfully evident now, as we were going to have just 2 cautions on the evening. Suddenly, that all changes. We're going to try and find what happens. It looks like it's going to be tough. This is Tyler Johnson. It happens ahead of him. No, this would have been the lap prior, it looks like. So we're working up to it. I know Wes Wiggin was involved. So we'll just stick with these guys, and we'll try and find where this happens. It looks like it's going to happen down the backstretch, if not into turn 3. And again, this is Wes Wiggin in the number 88, and Johnson is behind. Where does Travis Miller come into all of this? There's smoke up ahead. Oh my!
Miller must have lost it on his own or something. We'll see if we can get some sort of replay on that or see what we can do with Travis Miller. Obviously, Wes Wiggin came up on that number 22 car with a ton of speed, slid up to him, and obviously the contact put Wes Wiggin up to the top side. And then I think Tyler Johnson got through that, obviously with some damage, but it might have been minimal on the number 6 car. So hopefully Johnson doesn't have too much to fix on that car. As you're seeing Travis Miller on your screen. Yeah, so he was running up top, and he was trying to stay away from John Kinder and be respectful of the space on track for your race leader at the time. Just got up into the wall a little on his own, lost it, and then obviously collected Wes Wiggin. A little bit of damage there for the 6 car, too.
That's a new one. I mean, Travis Miller, of all people, last season's champion, not the guy that I would have pegged to hit the wall down the straightaway and lose control into turn 3, but that's exactly what he did. He's been in a dirt car recently, so maybe that's what it is. But Travis Miller just down the backstretch, tags the outside wall, goes for a big spin. And I mentioned this changes everything because Matt Grenier, who oddly stayed out under the first caution, is going to stay out under this one as well. I'm not sure about this move. This is interesting from Matt Grenier and Brandon Robertson and Gary Jaworski and Wyatt Brackett. 4 cars up at the front staying out under this caution flag. Oh, man.
You also got Jack Bauer. If you saw him at the last second, the 48 machine dove back out onto the racetrack. I wonder if that was a reaction to seeing how many cars were going to be up front and whether he wanted to.
Well, he's
take
6
time
laps down. I think he was letting cars by there.
He did, so he did come through and then slide back up. That was a little squirrely out of the 48 at least. That was that kind of gave me a little bit of a scare there to see him suddenly come back up on track. You see a couple cars, the lead lap cars, on the outside of him. So yes, Andrew is correct on that one. But I'm actually surprised. Look at how many cars stayed out.
Well, it's just 4. Based on timing and scoring here, that's still a lot.
That's
given what we just had, all of those green laps to just it's almost kind of parallel to what we had earlier on, where we just had the caution flag very, very soon. Right about 10, 12 laps in. We've had a caution flag now with 10, 12 laps to go. So if you like symmetry, we've got a bit for you here tonight in terms of halves of the race, at least if this one goes green to the end of lap 167. And everything, again, changed up entirely. It's going to be a whole lot to keep up with over the course of the next 10 laps as we come into 10 to go under caution. We should take the green at 9 to go. Pace car lights are off. We're going to re-rack them and re-stack them, Joe Donahue.
Yeah, I should say, I think that, obviously we talked to Brandon Robertson, he talked about having a set of tires to put on in the case of a late race caution under that stage break, and look what we have, and he stayed out, and it was very surprising. Whoa, Nick Mills, what are you doing down there? He got it a little squirrely coming back onto the racetrack. Looks to be clean, so he's good to go to get back to the tail of the field. That was maybe a little bit of a code brown for the number 46 driver. But yeah, I mean, 4 drivers staying out with 9 laps to go. That's plenty of time for fresh tires to come into play and to be strong. So I don't know about that decision. I'd be watching guys like Justin Winters, John Kinder, Tyler Johnson to move back up through and fight for the race lead at the end of the event. Maybe something will come together and give these guys up top who did not come down pit lane a chance to fight.
A whole lot changing up. You see the field is regrouped. The newest tires, well, the new tires in the field in row number 3. They've got 4 cars to get through. Race leaders have a 1-row cushion. Back to those no tires on Kinder and Winters. 9 laps to go for Matt Grenier on old tires, along with teammate Brandon Robertson. Miller in the wall behind, but we stay green.
waiting for cautions breeding cautions. I hope we don't, but we might see it. You got to think about that. Why Brackett and Justin Winners? They're trading pain out of turn number 2. They're 3 wide. Tyler Johnson to the inside of the 52 machine. Kinder trying to make a punt.
There it is.
Oh, we got one. We got one down the middle of the back. Yellow flags come back out. Car spinning. There is David Brackett. More cars involved.
Looks like Jack Bauer, Travis Miller, and more involved on a lap 158 caution flag. Let's take a look back and find out what happens. And it looks like it's going to start with the 38 of David Brackett. This is going back to the restart here. And there was at least one black car in there with them. I'm not sure who it was. This is 3 wide through 1 and 2. Kendall in the middle, Bauer on the bottom. What happens up out of the corner? Tyler Reed's slow, and oh, Nicholas Noggle. I mean, it's one of those things, it's nothing intentional, but just completely flat out turned him.
Yeah, absolutely. Noggle came up just too much there, and David Brackett collected a couple more cars. I think Bauer looked like he might not have hit anything. We'll have to check out the see if he did or did not make any contact. So you see Travis Miller was in the wall at the start, at least the restart right there. You're on board with the 08 machine. Ryan Kendall in the middle in front with Jack Bauer to the inside and David Brackett up top. David Brackett not quite faster, so Noggle's getting speed on the 38 and just moving for the real estate. And obviously David Brackett was already there, collected him into Jack Bauer, who that would be a...
there it is.
Man, he almost saved it. He almost had that car, and then just at the very end, a little bit of momentum pulled him into the wall. But elsewise, pretty good damage control from the 48 car.
It was certainly a pretty good attempt at it, but unfortunately throttled back up to get back going and, well, just ended up catching the wall with the right front. What this does at the front, though, is really change things up again, because Wyatt Brackett is out of the picture just about. Despite staying out the last time around, he was really the only car to fall victim to all those passes in those first couple of corners, and the top 3 remains as is, with Grenier, Robertson, and Jaworski. Mr. Anniversary out there, what do you say we try and grab someone under this caution flag here and talk to him? As we have just under 10 laps to go. And what do you say we make it Gary Jaworski? We've not talked to him at all yet this season. The perfect time to do so. And Joe, I'm going to hand him your way.
All right, well, here we go. I'm going to bring in the driver of the number 18. Gary, this is Joe Donahue with PitStop TV. You got me real quick?
Yes, sir. How you doing this evening?
Well, we're doing pretty good. We're watching you out on track right now. You're running third. You didn't come into the pits last time. Wondering if you could weigh in on the strategy and your thoughts on the finish of this race. What was going on in your head and what brought you to this one?
Well, you know, that last green flag pit stop, I thought about saving a set. It's the only set I had left. And, you know, I didn't think we'd have a caution. Been pretty caution-free. So I didn't have any to do it. So we'll see what happens.
Well, you got a couple laps, and obviously you're ticking them away under caution right here. Do you think you'll be able to pull something on the 2 cars in front of you and be able to get up there? Do you think you're going to be able to hold the guys back with fresh tires at all?
Well, I'm starting on the inside, which is a good thing. Got Kinder starting on the outside of me. He's really quick, and he's got freshies. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a shakeup up front. We'll see what happens.
All right, Gary, well, we're going to let you get ready to go for this restart then, but before we let you do that and get zoned back in, we'll give you the stage if you got anybody you want to say hi to or thanks to here on the broadcast with us.
Yeah, man, just want to tell my wife happy anniversary. It's our first wedding anniversary. Thank you for letting me do what I do, and big thanks to Bluegrass and all the guys in here, man. Can't do it without y'all.
Much appreciated, Gary. They're getting you ready to go again, so we're going to send you back to where you need to be for the restart here. Good luck, and maybe we'll be talking to you again.
Thank you, sir.
So there's Gary Jaworski. I think that's the first time we've gotten to talk to the man on a broadcast. At least that's my first time talking with him. Very good guy, and like we said, happy anniversary to the Jaworskis. Obviously spending your night here with us. Hopefully you get some time to, you know, get a nice dinner in your stomachs and spend some time together this evening. Very cool to have them with us on their first anniversary.
Oh, this ain't a great look from the pace car. We usually have pace car cameras, I suppose, not on the Mustang. We'll get that fixed by Friday night. I mentioned Friday night. We have another race at Atlanta coming to you this Friday evening. We'll tell you more about that here in just a little while. Make sure to tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern, though. And you can tune in again for Bluegrass iRacing Series coverage next week at New Hampshire Motor Speedway in a week's time. Again, 9 p.m. Eastern here on PitStop TV. No matter what platform you're watching on, we'll have coverage as always. Coming up to lap 164. Joe, that gives us 4 laps to go to the completion of 167. It's been one hell of a roller coaster ride. If they ever turn Atlanta into kind of a theme park, they have a great head start. The green flag is going to come out, and we are back racing for 4 laps at Atlanta.
So we're going to have 4 to go. Grenier got a really good restart on his teammate Brandon Robertson. Look at Jaworski holding it to the bottom right now. Like he said, the bottom was where he wanted to start. Got that spot up into the second running position. Tyler Johnson, no! Don't turn the man! Oh, he saved it down on the inside. Jaworski kept control of that number 18 car. He's going to lose a good couple spots right there, but damage control and car control right there out of Gary. Great stuff to see him still running that.
Oh, Josh Abbey!
As I say it.
Oh, he's up. Oh, no, CJ Mason. Oh, Ronnie Shirk. Ronnie Shirk Jr. got a huge piece.
Oh, Mitch Smith involved. Scott Fritz involved.
Oh, no.
There's just a slew of them. That's a tough break for Josh Abbey. He had such a good car. He was running so well for so long. And unfortunately, just nothing he could really do about that one with Daniel Worthington coming on. And, oh, man, that hurts.
This will take us to Bluegrass iRacing Series overtime. We'll have a green-white checkered finish to sort this one out. It all kind of starts, actually. We're going to have to go back. We're going to get one more replay stinger up for you guys. And we're going to see what happens with Tyler Johnson to start this out. Because it all starts out with a contact with Johnson and Jaworski. And that just starts a massive chain reaction further back. You see even a stack up there on the restart with Kinder and a winner. It gets them 3 wide. And I mean, this was just a wild restart through and through. But this is what happens with Jaworski and Johnson once more. And I mean, Johnson just hit him. It looked like he was trying to hope for a hole on the bottom side. And of course, it's 4 laps to go. He didn't want to lift when that hole closed up. And then everything checks up, and you see Joshua Abbey gets just barely tapped by his teammate of all people, Daniel Worthington, who spins into the pit lane. He's trying to save the race car, ends up, oh my, collecting some of these guys in massive hits. Oh, and then Fritz comes in, Brian Terry comes in and gets a couple of late hits. Oh my.
You know, I feel especially for Josh Abbey right there, a guy racing to make sure he gets himself into the playoffs and has such a strong night all the way through. I mean, kept the car in pretty good shape, had strong runs, played the strategy game right, and nothing really he could do. I mean, obviously Jaworski does an excellent job of saving that car, but he rejoins the group and just checks up a couple guys right here. Bryce Hunter right in front of the 5 has to relinquish a little bit of speed there and backs him up to the driver of the 113 and tries so hard. Look at how hard Josh is trying to keep hold of his car, but Ronnie Shirk is in the wrong place at the right time, at the wrong time for Josh, and just couldn't quite keep a hold of that car. But he was trying so desperately hard to minimize the amount of damage on this machine, keep it moving forward, and try to trek on for more points that he really needed in the playoffs right now.
And unfortunately, it's going to really change up a lot of guys' nights. A lot of guys that were having great runs out here, suddenly not so much. We could start with David Brackett, actually. He was having a pretty solid run, a quiet run, but a solid run. He gets taken out a couple of cautions ago. He's now 9 laps down still, sitting in the pit lane. Then you've got Nick Mills, where he had the incident way early in this race, and really had a great run shaping up. He's now 23rd. Jack Bauer in 21st. He's 6 laps down. I think of Nicholas Noggle right at the cutoff line. He may not have Maurer to deal with, but he might have to worry about other people trying to pass him up. I mean, we've got Gary Jaworski in the top 10, so certainly nothing safe at the cutoff line, and Nicholas Noggle, I think, is painfully aware of that as he sits in 20th, 3 laps down. Ronnie Shirk now gets caught up in this one. I'm not really sure where he's going to finish, obviously. Joshua Abbey gets caught up in this. We can see his very damaged Chevrolet Camaro come on by us in turn 3. There he goes. Tons of damage to his car. CJ Mason in the same boat, really. There's the 55. Daniel Worthington was looking like he might have had a decent finish there. He gets a little torn up, but you know what? I think most of that incident for him was just the slide through pit lane. He should be mostly okay. Wyatt Brackett, he got caught up in the incident a little while ago. I mean, a lot has happened to a lot of really good race car drivers out here trying to point their way in. You even see Adam Lancaster, who sits in, let's see, I'm looking for 9 laps down. If I didn't mention him yet, 9 laps down for Adam Lancaster. We were talking about leading the race earlier on. He's got 2 laps led to his name, and he should have had a whole lot more.
Yeah, Adam really had a lot of speed at the beginning of this race, but obviously for him to lead the laps, he'd have to take them from somebody else, and I do think that these guys at the front that we've seen, John Kinder, Brandon Robertson, that did lead a lot of laps. I mean, they just were better than him at that stage, and obviously he should have been able to hold on longer and be a factor in the race for a bit longer than he did, but unfortunate stuff, and that's just kind of the ebb and flow of racing. A tough break for Adam. Had a strong start. Now it's not as much, but just going to get to the end of this race and trek forward to New Hampshire, Watkins Glen, and then to Darlington, try to get himself secured into the playoffs.
Well, Joe, we're going to re-rack them and re-stack them one more time. It's lap 169 coming to lap 170 of now what should be 171 if we get this restart attempt in under green. It's a new race leader up front, Tyler Johnson, up to P1, but you know what? He has raced some guys really hard tonight. I think that's all going to come back to meet him here in the last couple of laps. He's got to contend with guys like Matt Grenier. He's got to contend with guys like Casey Barlow, Brandon Robertson, who's laying back just a little bit to get a good restart, Justin Winters, John Kinder, Bryce Lee Hunter, Gary Dozorski, Ed Osborne, Ryan Kendall, the top 10, with now 2 laps to go.
Green flag.
It's overtime here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. A big jackrabbited start. Osborne gets turned down to the bottom but keeps it straight.
I don't know if that was the right move for Tyler Johnson right there to get that.
Oh, Robertson! Barlow goes around. Oh, no!
Brought Ryan Kendall into it. Car's still sliding on the racetrack. Yellow flags back out on the track. We're going to have to reset this one. Try to get another go at it there.
We're going to get a quick replay to you here. This is... Oh, my. We're going to watch this entire restart in all of its glory because we're going to notice... Well, first there's this checkup on the start, and I think everybody was just trying to get going, and Johnson was waiting. I don't know if Johnson actually slowed down. There's that chain reaction, the shot in the shorts from Brackett to Osborne. Then, watch the yellow number 2. He's in this almost 3-wide situation, then decides he wants to get in behind Johnson, but he has to check up to do so. Barlow has to check up with him, doesn't quite get the message. Kendall gets turned in this, and Barlow goes around on the bottom. Oh, what I would... I'm glad I'm not Ryan Kendall. That's got to be so painful. Ryan Kendall does so much right in these races and gets wronged so often.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's anybody who was the loser in that situation, it was the driver of that 68 car. I mean, he had a really great performance this evening, fighting for as many points as possible, trying to secure his spot in the playoffs, and did a really great job up to the end of this race. I mean, look at him. He's in that top 8. And then, unfortunately, this whole scenario happens, and just barely his rear quarter panel gets caught by Brandon sliding up the racetrack and brought that 68 car into this incident. But he was a 10th of a second from not getting involved in this. If he would have just been a smidge further up on the track or a smidge quicker through that corner, would not have been involved.
It's a matter of 6 inches or so on the racetrack. It's incredible how close he was to getting through that one unscathed, and unfortunately it's just not going to go his way, and I'm not really sure where he's going to finish. But how about the zombie number 2 back here? He's in 11th position officially. I'm not really sure why he's so close to the front right now, but Brandon Robertson is, I mean, he's in behind the 9 car of Bryce Lee Hunter in front of Ed Osborne. Might have been trying to get his position back, so he might still hang on to 7th, it looks like, there. Since we're in overtime, I think the standings get a little bit wonky on us, but we'll keep an eye on that for the number 2. Meanwhile, let's take another look here, Joe, and see who we can talk to before this one finishes up. And there's a lot of guys that we could probably grab before this ends. What do you say we grab one number 52 Justin Winters. We know he's got some fans out there, and he's in a very precarious situation coming to this restart in 5th place.
Yeah, so we'll bring in Justin really quickly. Justin, this is Joe Donahue on PitStop TV. Do you got a copy?
Got you, buddy. Go ahead.
Well, Justin, we wanted to bring you in quickly before we go back to another attempt at overtime. You're kind of in a precarious spot in 5th place, but you seem like you've got your car underneath you tonight. What's it going to take to get that 52 car to the front?
I think I got some heavy damage from that wreck, so we're just going to have to be safe and try to salvage the top 5, it looks like.
Yeah, you've been doing a pretty good job tonight of keeping that car underneath you and staying up front. What was the thing that made the difference for you tonight, strategically or setup-wise, practice-wise, to give you this good run here at Atlanta?
Saving tires. Last season I was able to pull this race off, so I have a lot of confidence at Atlanta, and kind of based on that, and I got some great teammates in the Kinder and Lancaster and Casey and Ronnie Shirt now. They seem to help me out very well, so I'm pretty confident at Atlanta.
Yeah, we had seen the tire game was basically the deciding factor throughout this race, but you definitely played it well throughout the course of the evening. We've got a lot of people out here watching you and rooting you on, especially in the YouTube chat. I've been watching Sarah, your mother, giving you high regards, so hopefully you can bring something nice home for her here. But you look like you're going back to green flag soon, and
Yes,
we'll
sir.
give you the stage if you want to say any thanks to anybody out there.
Hi, Mom. There you go.
Well, there you have it. Man of short words, we'll let you go. Get ready to get back on the money and fight for some positions. Good luck tonight, Justin. We'll maybe be talking to you again.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
He's
so
gonna
we
move back
definitely...
into his team channel, and he's up there. He's working with the driver right in front of him, actually, here, Joe. John Kinder, which is very interesting to me, that he's working with John Kinder, Adam Lancaster, Ed Osborne, those crew. Definitely interesting, considering they've been doing a lot of the battle tonight, and I'd say have mirrored one another relatively closely. The 21 and 52 have, but it's time for them to go head to head, as they've got the best tires up in the front, the 21 and the 52, but these guys in front of them have somehow been hanging on to those spots. Matt Grenier, Tyler Johnson, your front row. We're coming to yet another attempt at a green flag finish. It's lap 174, coming to lap 175. The green flag flies. Grenier's off and away, and he clears Johnson, who dips in behind him.
Yeah, I was watching Travis Miller up at the back of the field, too, because it got a little squirrely in the running order back there, but it looked clean elsewise. Grenier jumped out front to Tyler Johnson. Gary Jaworski going to fall a little bit. John Kinder still a part of this picture, too. Watch that 6 car to get some momentum down the back. I think we're pretty clean down through here into turn number 3. A nice race here with the 6 car and the 21 getting up to the 15's tail.
Whoa, a bump and run from Winters to Jaworski, and here comes Tyler Johnson on Matt Grenier. John Kinder in the mix, 3 wide across the stripe, white flag flies.
Coming into turn number 1, there's still 3 wide, a little bit of contact on Matt Grenier from John Kinder. 2-horse race now through the middle of the turn. On the inside, the Valvoline number 6, that's Tyler Johnson. The outside's John Kinder, the 21 Grims 1 machine. Grenier drops back to where Winters is, but into turn 3, they're still side by side.
Side by side, the last couple of corners, it's going to be a drag race. Shades of Bobby Labonte and Dale Earnhardt. No! Oh, they hit, they make more contact! They touch more! Is Tyler Johnson across the line? Oh, John Kinder's not going to be happy about that. And smash him up in turn 1. Nobody lifts.
That was a great race out of turn number 4. The contact did play a big factor between the 6 and the 21. Obviously, you saw it the whole way down the front stretch. They're gunning at it. They're running with each other, trying to make it to the line first. Johnson pulls it off, and then, like you said, sort of broke loose at the end. There are a lot of cars getting involved in wrecks after the finish, which obviously doesn't affect the finishing order, but still gave us a little show at the end.
John Kinder cannot be happy about that one. He's driven an entire season now of 9 races, has come up so close, arguably should have had this one, is still winless despite being your overall points leader. The frustration has got to be boiling over in the 21 camp. Tyler Johnson, though, never gives up, and he doesn't care about any points battle. He is here to show up and win. That's exactly what he does. And hey, it is a race after all. And a race car driver went out there, laid it all on the line, and is going to grab this race win. It's race 9 of 16. And it goes to the number 6, Tyler Johnson. We'll take a step away. We'll be right back to you with post-race coverage then from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Tyler Johnson, John Kinder, Justin Winters, your top 3. We'll be talking to them shortly.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
We welcome y'all back to the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway, where we just saw what's going to go down as a classic finish here in the Bluegrass iRacing Series. Brought to you by Rims One, Wheels, Tires, and Accessories, and Milner Media and Design. We can't forget Tucson Sound Art, Race Pace, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, and Whiplash Media. Joe, we just saw, again, what I think will go down as one of the most amazing finishes. I mean, there were shades of Bobby Labonte and Dale Earnhardt in there. There were shades of even Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch in there. You could even argue the 2016 finish at Phoenix with Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick beating on one another and finally turning one another at the start-finish line. That was quintessential NASCAR tempers boiling over in turns 3 and 4, making a little bit of contact, and everybody just going for the race win. We have the pleasure of speaking with the 3 drivers who were in all of that, beginning with none other than race winner Tyler Johnson. Tyler, it's your second race on the season. You came back at North Wilkesboro last week. You come here this week to Atlanta Motor Speedway, and if I recall, Last season, your first win came at Charlotte. Now it's coming at Atlanta, maybe even the new beast of the Southeast. You get it done, but tell us about that finish.
Yeah, that I knew on that restart, I was starting second, and I knew I needed a good restart, or I needed to fall right behind Matt, and which is what I did. And then I got around him, and I knew John would be coming for sure because we both had fresh tires. He made it 3 wide on the front stretch. Going into 1 and 2, we kind of hit one another. I'm not even sure what happened, but I kind of felt my car get a little unsettled, and I just felt like I didn't get a lot of room coming out of 1 or coming out of 2 going into 1, and then into 3 I raced him clean, and then 4 kind of gave him a little bump. It wasn't intentional or anything, but I mean, I wanted to arc it out as much as I can to get a good run because I knew he'd get a good run, and we made contact and we had a heck of a finish, so can't complain.
So then let's back it up a little bit. Tell us about North Wilkesboro last week, since we didn't get to talk to you then, and coming into this race, knowing it's very abrasive, very bumpy, just like Wilkesboro, but entirely different in every other way.
Yeah, I raced North Wilkesboro because I just got done with another league, so I'm trying to, somehow make the playoffs with 6 races left or 5. And I know North Wilkesboro was just going to be a survival game, and I tried to do my best. And then we came here. Atlanta is probably one of my least favorite tracks on this simulator. It's weird, and I don't like how it races, but I somehow pulled it off tonight, and I couldn't be more grateful.
Well, I can tell you, unfortunately, Tyler, that if nobody else has told you yet, you got to make 10 races of 12 to make the playoffs going in. But still, an amazing race win, and you have a whole lot of races ahead that you can possibly win and play a spoiler. How do you feel about New Hampshire next week?
Well, that's unfortunate news for me, for sure. But New Hampshire next week, that's definitely one of my most hated tracks on the simulator. So it's like back-to-back weeks of crappy tracks. But I mean, if we can figure out a strategy, or if I can figure out a strategy and somehow pull even a top 5 off, or just something where I'm not in the back, I'd be happy with that. But we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Tyler Johnson, race winner tonight. Who do you have to thank?
I want to thank my friend Dylan Clank, my parents, I got my girlfriend. Thank you, Bluegrass, PitStop TV, everyone for putting this on. I mean, I couldn't do this without you guys putting it on, so I want to thank you guys for that. And yeah, all the sponsors as well. I mean, it's been fun so far.
One hell of a race win. You lead as many laps as your car number. Congratulations on the win tonight. We'll see you next week in New Hampshire.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Tyler
Johnson gets it done under the sun in the state of Georgia, and I think this is going to be a pretty spicy interview, Joe Donahue. We're bringing in John Kinder.
Yes, sir. We're going to bring in the driver of the number 21. John, this is Joe Donahue with PitStop TV. Do you got a copy?
Yeah, what's happening, Joe?
Well, John, you've had some really great finishes this season, doing very well, consistently speaking, just not breaking through, and tonight's another story.
Yeah, I guess the 6 didn't want to race clean there to the end. Doored me coming off of 4. I'm about tired of all that, so you might see a different kind of driver the rest of the season.
Yeah, it seemed like the racing was really tight at the end of the race, and that final green-white checkered attempt, that final overtime run did at least stay clean, but it was a waiting game to get there, and you had to do some avoidance and be patient to get to the actual finish of this race. Talk about the ending strategy you had when you got those last yellows.
Well, I made a mistake on the one restart, put me back, and then it was just a matter of trying to recover from that. Raced the guys as clean as I could. I split them, gave them plenty of room. He came up, hit me in the tri-oval. We go down into turn 3, gave him plenty of room, and he just came up, doored me. So if he wants to win like that, that's fine. He's going to lose one like that too, I promise you. So I'm about tired of these second place finishes. I'm tired of getting run over. And you're going to see a different driver here on out.
Well, we certainly saw you give it your all down this front stretch and all to you to try to get that victory and finally break through this season. Obviously, like you said, you've been close, and we've seen you do some excellent stuff out on track this season, but not quite getting there with that. So it seems like that's going to be the strategy. But I want to go back to your strategy for the race tonight, because it was a long one. And it seemed like tires were pretty important, and you did a really good job managing that.
Yeah, Justin Justin, myself, and Adam, and Ronnie, and Casey, we all kind of had a strategy going there. We figured we'd give up a little bit at the beginning of the race so that we could put tires on when we needed them. And so we were able to be on the right tire strategy. So I think that helped out quite a bit. I mean, each one of us had a shot there at the end. Unfortunately, Casey got in a little bit of trouble there at the end, and Justin came back, finished third. Adam had a little incident on pit road that he couldn't overcome, but and it looked like Ronnie got wrecked there at the end. So we all were kind of being patient and put ourselves in a chance to try to win it, and just came up short.
Well, that's the schedule week in and week out for you guys. You all put up really great fights, and we're looking forward to New Hampshire next week, where you guys are going to be hopefully trying to do the same. What's your strategy? What's your going into that race? What are you thinking about your event at New Hampshire to start rounding out these final races of the regular season?
I mean, I got enough of a points lead that I think I can point my way into the playoffs if I don't win. But I don't know, the 21 might have to use some of his bumper like these other guys tend to use. So it's going to be exciting to watch the 21 the next few races because I'm tired of second.
That is definitely warranted, John. And I want to ask you as well, not only about these last few races before the playoffs, but what's your playoff picture? You're looking at the ending of this season and looking at possibly having a run for the championship. What are you thinking for the playoffs itself?
Yeah, I mean, the way the schedule is, it's, I mean, Talladega's a crapshoot. Bristol, anything can happen. Roval, you can kind of manage your race. So those three are pretty tough just to get to Phoenix. But if we can get to Phoenix, I really like that place. And, you just got to be one of the top 4 guys to get there. So I'm a little bit behind on the playoff points because lacking wins here. So we're going to have to try to get a couple before we get into that playoffs.
Well, if you at least keep the consistency, I would hope to see that you make it through there. And we'll look forward to seeing you at least try to keep that consistency and get some wins. So we'll let you go for your evening, take the load off, get a beer, kind of bring it down. But before we do that, certainly going to give you the center stage for a moment and let you thank all your respective people and say hi to anybody you want here on the broadcast.
All right, I appreciate it, Joe. Yeah, of course, Rims 1, Ghostface Brewery, Bluegrass iRacing Series, PitStop TV, for what you guys do. And my teammates, they really helped me out quite a bit. Casey, Adam, Justin, and Ronnie, we all work really well together, try to make each other faster. So without them, I'd be slow. So I appreciate their help.
All right, John. Well, hey, we're rooting for you up here, hoping to see you get that first win of the season, and hopefully we'll be talking to you about it next week in New Hampshire or soon in the future. Have a good night, my friend.
I appreciate you guys.
John Kidder, driver of the number 21, your second place finisher for the night. Pretty solid stuff out of him, and I'll hand it back over to Mr. Cardinale. Going to be bringing in third place from this race is going to be the 52's driver, Justin Winters.
And we'll get a chance to watch this finish for Justin Winters as well as he was watching everything out in front of him. Justin, let's start off with the race as a whole. Suddenly, the 52 was right back in the spotlight, and you had a whole lot of speed all night long. In fact, you did get 6 laps led even, mostly in John Kinder's shadow, but I know you guys were working together.
Absolutely. Ever since I was an addition to their team, I've gotten better racecraft and better speed, so that's a big shout out to them for helping me out.
It certainly seems like it's paying back off. I know it was a rough start to the season, but with the win at Richmond, this big turnaround evening here at Atlanta, it's got to feel pretty good, putting you back in a decent position going into the playoffs. Obviously, that win helping you out a good bit, but you still want to be a decent seed going in.
Absolutely.
So, obviously, we've all seen this this wreck up in front of you on the broadcast right now a few times at this point. Those last
Crazy,
couple of
right?
laps, yeah, those last couple of laps, what did you see from your perspective?
I saw 21 and 6 battling. I'm not impressed with the way the 6 drove the 1. I kind of heard what his aspect was. Obviously, I've raced around John more than I've raced around the 6. I know John is clean. John's going to put you in a situation where you can either make it to wreck him or lift. And people don't lift, and they get into and that's unfortunate because very clean race.
Well, thankfully it didn't impact your finish. I mean, it was almost close enough to get you a second or even a first place. Is that next win on the way? I mean, I know you won here last season at Atlanta. You have that win at Richmond this season, but I'd imagine another one's on the way.
Absolutely. I want to get as many playoff points as I can to get, like you said, the higher up seeds. So maybe, you got Talladega, Bristol, stuff like that. Stuff can happen. If I'm up in top of the seeds or higher seed, then if something happens, I don't get destroyed or miss the next.
Well, it's looking pretty good for you despite being a little bit down through the first few races. Like I said, you're still locked in, and this run tonight's really going to help you out. How do you feel about New Hampshire?
Better get to practice. Flat track I'm not good at.
Well, we'll have to see how you do in a week's time. Who do you have to thank tonight, though?
I want to thank Allen's Body Shop for being on the car, Boots Manufacturing, Old School Diecast for being on the car. Check them out. They're from Evansville, Indiana. Gotta thank my mom for watching. You guys for putting on the broadcast. Bluegrass for putting on the series. And about it.
All right. Well, Justin, of course, thank you for your time, and hopefully we're talking to you next week up north.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good night, and thank you for everything you guys do.
Thank you as well, and that's Justin Winters finishing up on the bottom step of the podium, garnering himself a bronze medal on the evening. Joe, what a finish we just saw. What do you make of what happened here? We're going to watch it again. What do you make of what happens right here?
Oh, man. Well, Tyler Johnson, I'll give him credit. He's trying to get to that win, and like we said, coming into this one, he thought he was going for every spot he could to get into the playoffs. Obviously, we know he does not qualify to make the playoffs with not running 10 races. But, yeah, I mean, he was holding the bottom, and he tried to make as much of a run out of that corner as he could, tried to
Well, he got the apron on the
track.
bottom side of the corner as well, and that just pushed up the racetrack.
Yeah, I saw that down there, but I mean, he said it himself, too. He wanted to try to run off of the corner and pull some momentum by kind of fanning out, and obviously gave John Kinder a little more than a love tap, I would say, and I could see definitely why John would be upset with that. I mean, you want to race clean to the finish, and I think given a clean race to the finish, I don't know if Tyler would have been able to pull enough momentum or if John would have gotten him or not, but it certainly would have been a really close race to the line, and I certainly appreciate that John tried so hard. He was so close to getting it at the end of this race, and he's been fighting in this season so long to finally break through, get a win. I mean, that's pent-up frustration from an entire season of not quite making it that all unleashes with this whole situation here. But could Tyler Johnson have controlled that a little more? You got to check the replay a couple times to make sure that you can say whether or not that's the case, because, I mean, you are right. He was way down at the bottom on the white line coming out of turn number 4 and just kind of slid it up out of there.
Yeah, we'll watch back through it here in a moment while I give my piece, because, I mean, quite frankly, obviously, now we know that Tyler Johnson, he's still thinking he can make the playoffs right here, but, man, it's so tough to say, because it's not like he did anything wrong. It's not like he went off in there and just hit John. He hit the apron, and the car kicks up the racetrack when that happens. I think the biggest thing is we've got to look at it from John Kinder's perspective. We've got to understand the frustration all season long, and I think the frustration, even especially tonight, is more than warranted here. John Kinder's been arguably the best driver all season long. That's why he leads the point standings, yet doesn't have that win. I mean, right here, he is, what, 3/4 of a mile, if even that? No, I mean, he is a half a mile, if even that far, from his first win of the season. And on the top side, he likely has the momentum to drag race to the line. Then there it is, the small little hit to the apron for Tyler Johnson, and that just pushes him up the racetrack. The contact is made here. What I do find is interesting, and you know what? I think back to incidents like Martin Truex Jr. and Joey Logano at Martinsville. I also think back to Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick at Phoenix. I think that second hit is absolutely what did John Kinder in. I think if he drives at the top side, even after the contact, I think he still wins that race. And I think that's just the frustration boiling over for John Kinder. If he doesn't win that race, it's at least a whole lot closer. It's so hard to say, though, and I you know what? I've been there as a driver myself. You get doored, you want to go and door that guy back, especially when it comes to the race win like that. Unfortunately, he doesn't get that race win and is going to come up short. Second place stings that much more for one John Kinder. There you see the top 10 in the results, and I mean, it still stings. It's only a half of a tenth for John Kinder after the contact. Then Justin Winters a few more tenths back. Matt Grenier in fourth. Bracely Hunter, how about fifth place for him? And look at Ed Osborne. Then Casey Barlow has the win at Martinsville, but Ed Osborne 6th and Gary Jazorski 18th. How about those runs up into the top 10? Ryan Kendall recovers. He finishes 9th, and Daniel Worthington a top 10.
That's a lot of guys getting their best performances of the season down in the second half of the top 10. You look back to the rest of the grid here with 11th spot as Joshua Abbey had to fight back up from the crash that took him out of contention for what I think could have been a top 5 for him. Obviously not the performance he wants, but 11th place should be able to at least slide you up into the playoffs, hopefully. Wyatt Brackett comes home 12th, Travis Miller in 13th, two cars that saw trouble throughout this race, still holding on to the top 15. CJ Mason in 14th, Brandon Robertson going to be the last car on the lead lap at the line in 15th position. We bring it back to the number 83, Chris LeBourgeois, finishes one lap down in 16th. Then moving it back to 17th is Tyler Reed, followed by Jack Bauer in the 48. He's 6 laps down, with Brian Terry on the same lap in 19th. And rounding out your top 20, going to be that 46 car, Nick Mills.
The back third of the field looks like this. Adam Lancaster checking in at 21st, 9 laps down. David Brackett, 10 laps down in 22nd. Then Mitch Smith, Ronnie Shirk Jr., Nicholas Noggle, all 11 laps down, 23rd through 25th. 26th goes to Scott Fritz, 22 laps down. Wes Wiggin, 25 down. Dakota Shepard, 42 down. Michael Brisson, 70 laps down, and Ryan Smith only makes it 3 laps. No, actually, it ends up being a bit more since we had the extension of the distance. It ends up being, it looks like, only 12 laps or so for him, so only to the first caution for Ryan Smith. Once again, one hell of a show here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It seems like these 1.5s have just given us great racing all season long. The intermediates really stepping up to do their part to give us great racing here in the Bluegrass iRacing series, and it wouldn't be possible without these guys. Rims One Wheels, Tires, and Accessories in Mooresville, North Carolina, as well as Milner Media and Design, handling those media and design needs for the Bluegrass iRacing series. We cannot forget our partners here at PitStop TV, Tucson Sound Art. We talk about them a lot. I've got an example of their product up on my wall, and I can vouch for the quality of the Tucson Sound Art device. It looks great on its own, right? It's this canvas that gets wrapped around a box that then has a Bluetooth speaker in it. I mean, it's just like we had a one hell of a finish. It's one hell of a concept. It's something that I never would have thought of as wanting or needing, but now that I know about it, now that I have one especially, it's a fantastic product. Check Robert Patton Gale out and the rest of the Tucson Sound Art crew at TucsonSoundArt.com. Make sure to use promo code PitStopTV. I can't talk highly enough of this product, nor can I talk highly enough of Race Pace. Ever wish you could have a race engineer on speed dial? Well, now you can. Thanks to Race Pace, a driver development service and setup shop all in one, you can work with Tyler Campbell, a real-world race engineer, to step up your game before your next race. Pick up pace with Race Pace. And just like I said, I can vouch for Tucson Sound Art. I can vouch for Race Pace. We ran one of their setups in the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona this past weekend. We'll be running another one of their setups here very soon with Whiplash Racing at the 12 Hours of Bathurst at the end of February. Quality stuff from Tyler. Definitely picked up a ton of speed and stability. It's not just like you're going out there and loose as fast. You're going to go out there and you are going to have the best feeling race car that you've had to date. He took the Lamborghini Huracan that we were racing from being a little bit sketchy but feeling okay to feeling fantastic. And it didn't even feel like you picked up that pace until you went down, you put out a lap, and suddenly you're picking up a whole second. It was crazy the time that we picked up with Whiplash Racing with Race Pace. Very proud partners with them. Also cannot forget Permanent Makeup in Cryo in Maine. Before the summer rush even comes, when it comes to getting work done, wanting to look your best, get a head start at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. If you're up in the Maine area, or even if you're up in New England in general, check them out in Auburn, Maine, Lewiston, Maine, Harrison, Maine. Call them at 207-358-8683 and check out the procedures they can offer you to look your best today. We cannot forget Whiplash Media, PitStop TV's parent organization, specializing in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services like photography, social media management, and public relations. You can go to whiplash-media.com or find us on Facebook for a bit more information. And Joe, it's been great sharing the virtual booth with you tonight, but as with all good things, they must come to an end. This does conclude our coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing series at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. We at PitStop TV thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's racing action, and hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. Be sure to tune it back in Friday evening, Friday night. You can see it on the bottom of your screen right there. 9 p.m. Eastern, we have more Atlanta action with the LTAC Cup Series revisiting the high banks of Hampton, Georgia. Then Monday night, we got the BRP iRacing Series Linear Raceplex, the shortest track they visited so far this season. Those big blocks are really going to get down and dirty. Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then 10 p.m. Eastern, the same night, that's 7 p.m. out west, for our Pacific Challenge GT3 Series as they head out to Imola. I'll try and get the actual track name correct. Autodromo Nacional. I believe it's Enzo e Dino Ferrari. There we go. Fantastic race course. Looking forward to bringing that to PitStop TV for the first time. Going to be fantastic racing, I'd say, as always, from the Pacific Challenge. Don't forget, next week we bring back Operation E Motorsport. That comes to you from Road America, Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern. Then we bring it all back to Bluegrass action Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. It is action from New Hampshire Motor Speedway up in Loudon, New Hampshire. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, 151 laps of mile-long racing. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStopTV. Over on Twitter at PitStopTV_. You can check out both of those resources as well for all of our social media updates throughout all of our iRacing broadcasts. You can follow us over on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/c/PitStopTV1. For all of PitStop TV, Joe Donahue with me virtually on the mic, Career Expert on social media. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.
Did both of them at the same time.